Yo, guys, what's up? And welcome back to the Marvelous Chats podcast. This is episode 138. Tonight on the cast is myself, Finto, and Alex, aka Zaberwolf. We're going to be going over episode 5 of season 2 of House of the Dragon. We're going to be going over the finale for season 4 of The Boys and the finale for The Acolyte. There's plenty of other nerdy news to talk about in between. So without further ado, here we go. Yo, dude, what's up? How are you?
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. Just hanging out. Wasn't really a busy work week, but nonetheless, got some stuff done that I've been waiting to get done, and happy to write off some of my stories. And did you end up getting hit by the CrowdStrike issue?
My company had a couple of clients who did. Thankfully, I was on a client site on Friday morning, and the client that I was visiting didn't get affected, and neither did my company itself. So I was double lucky, if that makes sense, because basically I knew nothing about it. I woke up, took my morning shower, jumped in the car, and I was driving into work. And my phone, I usually have my phone kind of sitting up and listening to music, so I can kind of see it. It's on like a little magnet thing on my dash, and my fucking Teams was like hopping. I was like, "What the hell's going on?" And like my internal group was just beep, 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 beep. I was like, "Oh god, there's something going on." So I got stuck in a bit of traffic. So I was like, "I'm gonna have a quick look at this." So I literally, I literally popped open my phone and I just saw Microsoft outage P1 everywhere. I was like, "Oh no." But I was thinking, obviously, Teams is working here for us. So I was like, okay, we must not be affected. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to get to the site. First thing I'm going to do is jump onto their 365 admin center, check the health of the server and all that stuff, make sure everything's okay. And they were all fine, thank God. So I was just like, oh, crisis averted, because that was the last thing I wanted to deal with on a Friday, especially being on site on a client site. If they were all down, like people would be coming in screaming at me, like it'd be my fault that it'd be down. You know what I mean? Like so.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I was very lucky, very lucky. What about you?
Nothing impacting on the customer side. There were some applications from other teams that were impacted and did cause maybe a couple things in terms of like what our jobs do.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, it wasn't like incredibly impacting. I think it was when those other applications started going down, that's when we started seeing some stuff. But
Yeah, yeah.
otherwise, we weren't like directly impacted. So it was that day was fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't like chaos or anything for our end. I was still able to work with one of my coworkers so that we can get some stuff done.
Mhm.
And yeah, so it just felt like a normal work day for me, but for other applications, they were like, it's everything went downhill.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, a lot of people say that, like, oh, like blaming Microsoft and whatnot, but it's not Microsoft's fault. It's CrowdStrike.
Yeah.
Um, because of an update. From what I understand, it's an update that occurred on a Friday.
That's the cardinal sin of IT. You do not
Oh,
roll out changes on a Friday.
you have to get approval for that shit.
CRs, yeah, everything.
Yep.
Like, yeah, 100%. No, so obviously that's outrageous. Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like, yeah, I don't know. Look, I think again, I didn't see any lashback of it, so I'm grateful. But look, yeah, I'm delighted that it didn't ruin your Friday either. So, um, we got a lot to talk about tonight, so I think we should just dive straight in. We have the finale of The Boys season 4. We've got the finale of The Acolyte and House of the Dragon episode 5, which again I know is last week's episode because the new episode's going to be airing in a couple of hours. But again, our schedules are basically at the furthest point possible to talk about the previous episode, so I apologize for that. Obviously next week we have Deadpool 3 hits the big screen. Going to see it on the 26th. Cannot fucking wait. I have the best seats in the house and the best screen in the country. Going to eat some fucking food and have a good time. I cannot wait, man. It's going to be amazing. And I feel like if this is even half as good as I'm expecting it to be, I'm definitely going to see it a second time as well. So yeah, like Marvel's about to make a lot of money. Disney are probably going to hit $1 billion, I'd say, for this one. I'd be shocked if they didn't. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Next Saturday as well is San Diego Comic-Con. There's going to be a lot of new Marvel news. Like Marvel are taken to Hall H, which they haven't done in a couple of years now as well. I think the last time they were there was 2019. Was it 2019? I can't remember. But the last time that they were there, they announced like Secret Wars and stuff like that. So, and that was years ago. So I think there's going to be a lot of new Marvel news happening next week. So stay tuned because we're probably going to do some sort of a live stream or something, or I might be live somewhere. I'll be live somewhere for sure. So keep an eye on that. And anything else? Yeah, we have a few other bits which we'll talk about at the end of the stream. But anybody who's here live, appreciate everybody hanging out with us. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit subscribe and like on the video, and leave us a comment and let us know below if you're watching a replay, what you think of all the stuff that we talk about tonight. So I'll leave it up to you, brother. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, let's start with the worst thing.
Okay, that's an easy pick. So that's the Acolyte. So yeah, so the Acolyte finale this week. I'm interested to kind of see what people think. You know, I'm getting, I don't know, I'm being quite vocal about it on Twitter, which I know is my own fault, but I'm getting a lot of hate on Twitter for it, for my views, because I'm saying that it's bad. But honestly, if you think this show is good, I don't know what to tell you, because it is absolutely awful. And I don't, why people are saying, that it's bad. Like, if you think it's bad, it's just because you're misogynistic or all this bollocks. No, it's just a fucking shit story, shit character, shit acting. You know what I mean? And it's just in the finale as well. Like, they dangled like Plagueis at us, they dangled Yoda at us. It felt desperate in the last episode, and I don't know if it was done that way on purpose in a kind of like plea to get season 2. I don't really know. Like, honestly, it wouldn't fucking surprise me if this did come back for season 2. It's definitely the lowest rated Star Wars TV show. And I think even if you were to take all the view botting and shit out of it, or the review botting, should I say, I still think it sits on a fucking 5 out of 10 at the best. You know what I mean? Like, so honestly, the show is terrible, but I thought Andor was terrible as well, and they got season 2. So honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. What did you think of the finale? Like, did you hate it as much as I did?
It wasn't like I didn't hate it, but I didn't really care for it. It was like I feel like hating it or liking it is like, either way, it's both kind of a positive in my opinion. But like, I'm wholly indifferent. I did not care. I just like it reached the point of like, I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Everything that you try to do, everything that you try to set it up for, all these revelations that came about, it just all flatlined. And for people that were calling you misogynistic for thinking that it's a horrible show, they really don't understand the underlying meaning behind a lot of the things that occurred in this finale. You could take a lot out of this as well, and it could be very much like a conspiracy kind of situation. And what I mean by that is that a lot of underlying feelings were brought into the finale, in which like I came to the realization that the story was telling a weird kind of thing to it. And I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong, but it just felt kind of gross by the end of it.
I would like you to expand, because I feel like I know what you're talking about, but I want to be 100%.
So the people that were saying like, oh, you're misogynistic, I think they're kind of blinded by the fact that this is a very predatory show.
Right.
It's very, very predatory. If you go through it, Soul wanting to take the kids against their mother's will, Soul wanting to justify his means for taking the kids, using his emotions, putting them in play. It's very predatory sounding. And I know that could be very like misread or misunderstood, but that's kind of how I took it. Because by the season finale, it's like he didn't want to admit that he was emotionally wanting to take the kids, and not just that, but specifically Osha.
Yeah, like I think he does mention that he has like a connection to her, and I think Carrie-Anne Moss's character even says along the lines of like, you're emotionally attached to her, and he's like, I'm not emotionally attached to her, but then literally his last words to her was, I love you, before he gets choked to death with the Force. So, and again, I don't know if that's I love you like a child, or I love you like a woman. I don't know. Again, he picked her up when he was 8. If that is the case, that he fell in love with her, that is very strange.
It's fucking weird.
It's weird. I think there's definitely, and I think this is pretty obvious, but there was definitely an agenda in the show to make the Jedi look like the bad guys. 100%. You know what I mean? This show was definitely, you were supposed to root for the bad guys. 100%. I don't think anyone can argue that fact. The fact that the Jedi are just seen to be liars the whole time. They're covering up murders. And like, if you just take a step back and actually think about the show and actually what happened, I don't think the Jedi were wrong in anything that they did in that show. Now, except for Torben. I think Torben poked the bear. He probably shouldn't have. And again, I don't how he went on to, after the events of this show, how he went on to go back to Coruscant, train to become a Jedi Knight, and then on to become a Jedi Master in the space of 6 years, and then take a vow of silence, just get guilt stricken after 6 years and go into a 10-year silence. It doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. Like, please, if anyone can make that make sense to me, I'm open ears. Please talk to me in the comments. Let me know. But I cannot make sense of that decision. Torben, for the 6 years that followed this show, went on, trained to become a master, which I presume is the hardest thing in the galaxy to do. Now, again, I don't know if 1,000 years of peace in the Jedi Order made it very easy to become a master. I think, again, this needs to be explained further, but how some of these people in this show became Jedi Masters is beyond me, because what I understand to be a Jedi Master is like the likes of, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, all these, Qui-Gon Jinn, Mace Windu, all these guys who are very wise and powerful characters. They're the ones who become the Jedi Masters. Like, and even the Chosen One, Anakin, I know he was young, but he's told by the Council, you're not going to become a master. We'll put you on the Council, but you're not a master. So, like, it's like, if you can't make Anakin Skywalker a master, and again, I understand why they made that decision. It's because, Palpatine was pulling the strings and stuff. But at the same time, you're looking at who is highly regarded, the best swordsman apart from Mace Windu in the universe, and he's the best pilot. And, there's all these things that he's the chosen one and blah, blah, blah. Like, if anyone should be a master, I know he's young, like he's like 23 in Revenge. But I think, if you're going to make the argument for somebody becoming a master, I think he's up there. And especially now when you see all these people who were masters 100 years before him, they're all terrible. Like, you know what I mean? I just don't understand it. Like, all the Jedi appear to be really fucking stupid on the show. They don't understand how to do simple tasks, it seems. They need Basil, the fucking little weasel thing, to track May and Osha.
Which by the way, that's a toy scheme. Like, clearly they put him out there to be a toy.
It's so stupid, bro. Like, and even like, again, I couldn't believe in the finale when there was like, do you remember when they find Sol's dead body? Spoiler alerts, by the way. But when they find Sol's dead body, there's about 20 Jedi Knights. I think I can't remember the Green Lady's name, but she says to the young Jedi in the thing, assemble as many knights as you can and follow me to the planet. So I presume that everybody that's there is a Jedi Knight. So again, that's like Obi-Wan level up until like episode 3. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to think that these guys, they got to be able to fight. They got to be smart. They got to know the Force. All these guys, like, so between 20 of them, they can't use the Force to find May and Osha, who are 5 minutes down the road. But Basil can sniff them out. And the stranger, Chimere, is able to find them with ease. And he goes to the tree and he's like, if I can track you, the Jedi can track you. And then the very next second, you cut to Basil running through the fucking forest and 20 Jedi just following him blindly, not knowing where they're going. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, man. Like, it's awful. I know when you come around to episode 3, and I've seen a lot of kind of back and forth with the fan base online, but, there's people trying to defend this show saying like, well, the Jedi were blinded in the prequels. They couldn't see like Palpatine's plans and he was sitting in front of them the whole time. And it's like, that's kind of different. And if it's not different, explain to us why the Force is clouded right now. You know what I mean? They haven't explained anything. And, at least in the prequels, you knew it was Palpatine. Like, he's the fucking Sith Lord. He is like one of the most powerful Sith Lords of all time. And if you watch those 9 movies in the saga, you know that he eventually goes on to like regenerate and come back to life and so on. So like, obviously he's the Sith Lord. But in this show, there's no explanation as to why the Jedi don't know what's going on. It doesn't make any sense, man. Like, how does Yoda, he's on like, they call it the Grand Council. How does Yoda not know what's going on? There's been like 20 Jedi Knights and Masters killed in this show. there's Soul, who's a Jedi Master for the Council, who is more conflicted than fucking Anakin Skywalker by the looks of it, because he can't make a decision up. He's living in guilt. He's in love with his Padawan, or his ex-Padawan. Like, how does Yoda not sense the conflict in him? He's walking around Coruscant. Like, towards the start of the show, we see him training younglings. So it's not as if he's been out in space, like on missions for the whole time. We saw him in the Jedi Temple. How is he walking around the Jedi Temple more conflicted than Anakin Skywalker? And so, like, Yoda doesn't go, "Hey, Sulk, can we have a chat?" Because, like, even in the prequels, you'll see Anakin always goes to Yoda for guidance. How do I do this? How do I do that? And Yoda's always like, you need to give up the things you love the most. Because Yoda knows he's obviously in love with Padme. Like, they don't say it, but they do know. You know what I mean? It's implied that they know. And then even like when Anakin kills the Sand People, Yoda gets the vision straight away. He sees it happen. You know what I mean? So it's like, and that happened across the galaxy. Like, the Tatooine is like in the outer rim. So it's like, you know what I mean? You're in the outer rim, and fucking Yoda's in Coruscant, in the capital, and he senses Anakin doing all that. So you're telling me he can't sense May and Ocean, the Stranger, and all this sort of stuff? And I know the Stranger has the Cortosis mask on. That's fair enough. That's kind of an explanation. Fair enough. But like, he's not like sensing all these people getting slain by an unknown person that he can't sense in the Force. It just doesn't make any sense to me, man.
See, I part of me thinks that when it comes to Sith and Jedi, I think the way the Force works, it's possibly on a different scale. Maybe they're able to hide it in the sense that, like, the dark side of the Force, you don't really want to search for that in particular within your mind. I don't know, like, maybe I'm just kind of throwing something out in the open, but like, the way I see it, like, Palpatine is strong enough to probably know how to mask his scent, essentially, like, and
that's different. That's different, though. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, and I think that is different. And what you got to take into consideration here is, in the timeline, there's been 1,000 years of peace. The Jedi have had nothing to do, and now all of a sudden there's a dark presence in the universe, and Jedi are being slain by lightsabers and stuff. And you're telling me that there isn't a blip in the Force? Yoda, who sits, he's like 850 or something. Yoda sits there, he meditates all day in the Grand Council room. You're telling me that he's not like sensing his masters and knights dying, and like seeing visions of them getting slain by red lightsabers and stuff? I just don't like. Again, if this is the story you want to tell, fine, but tell us why. Tell us how. How is all this stuff happening? Exactly. And again, we go to the finale and we see Plagueis hiding in the cave. And again, I'm going to put my hands up straight away. I'm not going to jump on the Plagueis train. I know a lot of people online are disgusted at this appearance of Plagueis and so on, because they're big Plagueis fans. I'm not a Plagueis fan. I never read the novels. I don't really know. I know the bare minimum about him, but I don't really care, right? So when people see him appearing in a cave and he's creeping on May and Osha, and people are kind of putting two and two together, saying like, oh, well, this is obviously how he learned to create life in the Force, is through these witches and May and Osha and the Stranger and all. People are like, oh my God, this is terrible. This has a knock-on effect to the prequels and so on. I don't really care, like Plagueis, he's literally called Plagueis the Wise. And how the story's meant to go is that he is Palpatine's master, and Palpatine kills him because he finds out that he's able to create life. And literally what Plagueis does in the time between this show and episode 1 is he figures out what he doesn't actually successfully do, but what he's trying to do is he's trying to create the perfect dark side user from the Force.
Mm-hmm.
And basically he fails to do it. He can't do it. But Palpatine is his Padawan, and he learns everything from Plagueis. So how to, be, undercover and in the public eye, like Plagueis in the novel and stuff. He's a very well-known man in the galaxy, and he's very wealthy and so on. And this obviously all makes sense as to how Palpatine learned to do all this stuff. But in this show, it's like we see him and he's just hiding in a cave, just creeping around, watching people. And it's like, that's not really the Plagueis that the fans really know or like expected to see. And I think that's why a lot of people are upset about it. Me personally, I don't really care, and honestly, I really dislike this show. But with the way that the show ended, I'm like, yeah, fuck it. If you want to make more of it and answer some of these questions that I've just brought up, I'm down to see how you do it. But I'm not going to be excited about the show. I'm not sitting here hashtagging on Twitter going, renew the Acolyte or bring season 2 on or whatever. But, if it does happen, I'll watch it, of course. But I think if they do get a season 2, they have a lot of fucking work. They have a lot of things to answer. There's a lot of angry fans out there. I think it's sitting on a 3.4 on IMDb. It's got like 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not a good show. I gave it a 2 out of 10 on IMDb for the entirety of the season. I think it started okay. The first 2 episodes were kind of like mid 5 out of 10s for me, and then it just fell apart. Episode 3 was just horrendous. 4 was terrible as well. 5 was probably the best episode of the series. Just for the action, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, you just like watching lightsaber fights. Yeah, it's Star Wars. I do like watching lightsaber fights. I do like watching Jedi and Sith fight and the Force being used and so on. Yeah. Kymir was probably the best part of the show. I feel very sorry for the actor because I think he did a phenomenal job with the shit that he was presented. And the actor who played Saul, who everyone online is just calling him Squid Game guy because he was in Squid Game. But that dude, that poor guy, didn't even know English. He learned English for the role, and I don't even think he can speak English. Wow. I think he just learned the scripts, so he can't actually speak English, as far as I know, or very, very little English. And he went and obviously phonetically probably learned the scripts. So I have nothing but respect for that man as well. And I just feel sorry for him because, again, he put on a fucking spectacular performance. And I think his character was probably done fucking dirty as well. I know he was conflicted in the Force and so on, but for the show to end and for them to just blame everything on him and do a cover up, it's not the Jedi way at all. You know what I mean? Like, it's outrageous. It's outrageous that they did that. Like, they just blame him. They call him a flawed man. And like, the entire Senate or whatever are sitting there just going, okay, so it was just a rogue Jedi then? Cool, yeah. And like, what? Yoda's going to hear about this now? Like,
well, then they covered that up. They essentially covered that up and making episode 1 and episode 2 saying that it's been peaceful for 1,000 years. That means that they've been covering shit up, which is fucking weird.
That's another thing, yeah. Again, as we are meant to understand the lore, it was that there was no conflict, there was no Sith showing up or anything like that. Now, if they want to try and talk and say, okay, there was like different issues within those 1,000 years with rogue Jedi and so on, again, that's a story that you're going to need to really fucking explain yourself if you're going to do that. Like, show us the notes. You know what I mean? Like, show your work. But as the novels went in Legends and, how it was to be perceived before the events of episode 1, it was that there was 1,000 years of peace. And that's what the big fucking reveal of the Phantom Menace was, is that, holy shit, there's a Sith Lord, there's a Padawan or an apprentice. They're working in the background and they make themselves known, and boom, we're going to reveal ourselves to the Jedi. It's, now we get our revenge for the last 1,000 years. That's the line. That's the story. So yeah, if you're going to turn around and say, actually, that, there's been Sith, but we've been lying and saying they're like kind of rogue Jedi and stuff, it's like, you got a lot of work to do to kind of convince me anyway of that. I don't know. Maybe other people will just accept that, but that's kind of bullshit in my opinion. You know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah, man, I just, the fact that they brought Yoda in at the very last second as well, like, it's a lose-lose situation, right? Because 2 things are going to happen. Either she's going to tell Yoda the truth, right? So Yoda finds out everything that happened in the show. And because when we get to episode 1, they know nothing about divergences and the people being created in the Force, and Anakin is the first one that they see. Yoda, if he knows about the events of this show, he's lying when it comes to episode 1, and he's part of the cover-up. So that is horrendous. That is horrendous, if that's the case.
This is what drives it. This is what drives the whole situation to like get into the gutter. It's like they're literally rewriting things and trying to retcon it as like, oh, shit's actually gone down. It's just people are covering it up, and I hate that. Absolutely hate that.
And especially when it's Yoda. He's the Grand Master. He is the leader of the Jedi. Like, if anything, he should be the shining star, the one who like follows the Jedi code the best. You know what I mean? Like, he is the example. He is what everyone else strives to be. He is the wise one, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, he shouldn't be complicit in a cover-up and one of his Jedi masters being blamed for 20 murders and, all this crazy shit. It's awful, bro. Yeah,
if it was a knight or a Padawan, like
the Grand Master covering up a Jedi Master or Jedi Master's fucking bullshit, right? So that's one scenario where it's a lose. And then the second lose is that I think her name is Venestra. Maybe I'm getting her name wrong. If she walks in, the green character, the green lady.
Oh, Roa.
Anyway,
It's like
whatever her name is.
Rwolov or something like that. It's like it's
Whatever
art,
her name is.
yeah, it's fucking weird.
It's irrelevant.
It's
But
Ro.
yeah, either she walks, and then second scenario, she walks into the room. She says, "Master, I have to tell you something," and she lies to Yoda, and Yoda doesn't question her, doesn't sense any lies or conflict. Vernestra, yeah, I thought that was her name. Thank you, Griff. But I think that's
Oh,
her
you're
like
talking about
surname.
first name. No,
So
that's her
whatever,
first name.
whatever. Sorry, yeah, whatever. That I just yeah, I've heard people in reviews calling her Vernestra. I thought, but anyway, yeah. So either then she goes in, tells a lie to the Grandmaster, and he doesn't sense it, which again is just number one. How does Yoda not know that he's being lied to? How does he not? When the second she walks into the room, he should be able to like read her mind and be able to kind of fucking see everything that she sees, sort of shit. Like, you know, that's how powerful Yoda is. And you're gonna tell me that she's gonna walk in, tell a bullshit lie about Soul, and then Soul's gonna like Yoda's gonna be like, hang on a second, how did I not know about any of this? And he's gonna like look out into the force and like not see any of this happen. I don't know, bro. To me, I don't understand. I can't see a win scenario of her walking into the room and telling Yoda anything. I don't
Yeah,
see a win at all.
it like it's just like we just said. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. Like talking to him at this point, it's you know if they had said in episode 1 or 2 that like we haven't had like aside like, if they had said aside from maybe a few internal conflicts, we have not seen any Sith or like dark force like forces of the dark activity like within 1,000 years, then we could possibly say that maybe there was a few hiccups here and there and then make stories of that. But because they've said clearly nothing has happened for 1,000 years, it really is putting it out that the Jedi are bad.
Well, again, and to add on to what you're saying, and which is what angered so many people after episode 3 or 4, was that they put Mundi in the show, and he has the famous line in episode 1 when Qui-Gon Jinn says, I was attacked by a Sith Lord," and Mundi, "A Sith Lord? They've been extinct for 1,000 years." He was in the room when they were talking about the whole thing. He was there. So we know he's lying. He was standing beside Osha, who was created by the Force. And you're going to tell me that in the 8 years that Osha trained to be a Jedi in the temple, like nobody or she didn't tell anybody, or nobody got a bit of a strange feeling from her in the Force. Her metachlorian count, her M count was so high that nobody kind of went, yo, what's up with this fucking Padawan here? She's starting the training fucking 4 years too late. And she's like, she's insanely powerful with the Force. What the fuck is going on? I don't know. And they kind of
it's so
I think
broken right now.
I think they tried to explain it that maybe the twins were the most powerful when they were together, which maybe might explain that. But again, they didn't actually explain this. But I think maybe what they were trying to portray is that the two girls are most powerful when they're side by side, and they're most powerful when they're on the planet, because the Virgins was the planet itself. I think that's what the explanation is. So it's like, if they're on the planet and they're together, they're at their most powerful.
Mhm.
Would the Jedi not land on the planet and realize, holy shit, I'm powered up here? What's going on? Like, they're they're going around with the fucking metal detectors trying to find divergences in the Force, and they're testing like samples of the grass and all this shit. And it's
Mhm.
like, guys, do we not realize, are you not walking around this planet going, man, I'm leveled up here, like I'm feeling like more connected to the Force than ever? I just feel like they needed to explain this, like they didn't. Like, I don't know, man. It's so weird, man. There's so many and I'm probably forgetting so many of the stupid plot points, but it just, so many times in the show I was just like, this is just fucking bullshit. This doesn't make any sense. And as well, sorry, one more thing before I let you talk. Sorry.
Sure.
The scene with Basil where he like betrayed Soul and like destroyed the ship. Why did he do that? Was that like, did he not want Soul to turn to the dark side by killing May or something? Like, is that what he did? Again, please explain what's happening. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're having this cool chase through the rings of the planet which I presume is where most of the budget went because it looked pretty fucking good. But they have this big cool fucking battle, and then it's like they pull into the planet, and it's like, May's like running away from Soul, but like escapes to the planet where they were going anyway. It just, there's so many plot points, there's so many plot holes, man. It was so poorly written and so poorly put together. And then, like, Soul leaves the planet out of hyperspace, and literally the second they shoot off, the Jedi show up. Like, they would have had to like scan space and stuff, and then notice that there was a ship where they were about to come out of hyperspace with. Like, they do that. Like, the ships calculate all that shit. And then would they not have realized, oh, that's Soul's ship that's just gone off there 1 second ago? And then Soul's like, we're going back to the planet. And then they turn around to go back, and the Jedi are back in Coruscant again, and then they have to turn around and go back again. Have they not crossed paths like 4 times now? Oh, dude, it's so painful. And like, honestly, if you enjoy this show, power to you, because I can't. I'm a Star Wars simp here, man. Like, I've loved Star Wars since I was 6 years old, and I just cannot get behind this show. I just don't understand. I don't get how people like it. And I feel like if you're defending the show online, you're not even defending the show itself. You're just defending Star Wars because people are not liking it. You're fighting them just to be on the right side of it. You know what I mean? Like, I really think that, like, I don't understand how you can defend this show. How can you defend the writing? How can you defend the acting? I'm sorry. It's terrible.
It's herd mentality, dude. A lot of the times, the people that are trying to defend it haven't even watched the show.
Yeah. True.
And those who have watched the show are blinded by the fact that, they think that they're having this moment with these female heroes, which they're absolutely not heroes at this point. Like, they're conflicted characters who are being manipulated by both sides of the Force, essentially. It's fucked up. I don't know why they wrote the story this way. I don't think it belongs in the Star Wars universe whatsoever, because we've never had anything of that sort. And it's just a really awkward situation. The whole like situation with Soul, and wanting to help Osha and May like get out of that situation. It was absolutely none of their business. And it's a witch's coven. And what were they going to do? We don't know what they were going to do, which is the dumbest thing, to kill everyone and not explain what the hell they were going to do in the first place. Like, just because they were dark magic users, and they said dark magic, they weren't talking about the Force in its entirety. Apparently there was magic involved, which I think would have been much cooler to just call it magic.
I think, sorry, just to go, I do think that they were using the Force, but I think they perceived it in a different way. And I think that's a cool thing too. I don't think the Force should be just for Jedi to use or whatever. I think if people can figure out how to use it in a different way, because it is explained that the Force is everywhere. It's around us completely. Like, there's no way that only like Jedis can use it and Sith. You know what I mean? I do kind of find that interesting. But again, they're not explaining it in a proper way. They're not explaining it. I think if you're going to do flashback episodes, show us the Coven. Do an episode on how the Coven got to that planet. What happened to them to go to that planet? We just hear that they're in exile and they're running from the Republic or whatever. Why? What did you do? How did you get there? Tell us. Exactly. Show us. How did the couple, the two the heads of the witches, the parents to the kids, how did you become a couple? Why not? Tell us that love story.
How did you meet?
Yeah, exactly. How did you create the children? Is an even more important point, because again, we still don't know. And even the horn-headed mother even says, what are the Jedi going to do when they find out how you made them? It's like, we still don't even fully know how that happened. And we may never see another episode of this show again. And this show has come in and started a fire in the Star Wars lore, and they could potentially be just walking away and we might never see an episode of it again. Like, and if that does happen, we have to accept this show as canon because Disney say it is. And now the next time you watch episode 1, you have all these questions to, how did this happen? How did that happen? Where did Plagueis go? All this stuff, like, you know what I mean? How does Yoda not know? How, if he does, why is he lying? Why is Kiari Mundi lying? Why is he saying all this stuff about peace for 1,000 years? You know what I mean? There's so many fucking questions that I nearly want a season 2 because I want them to try and fix it or potentially make it worse. And then I don't know what I'll do then, but you know, at least give them the chance to try and fix what they've done, because they have done, like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, it doesn't really matter, you know, stuff gets retconned all the time, and you know, the legend stuff isn't really canon anyway. I understand that. So that's why I kind of don't give a shit about the Plagueis thing, because, you know, the book that everyone loves and they say it's the best Star Wars novel ever made, they're saying is legend. So it's canon, it's not canon. So it doesn't really matter. And that's fair enough. That's fine. But if you're going to introduce one of the biggest fan favorite Siths in lore, do them properly. Don't just dangle the keys and say, here he is. He's been in the cave and he's watching the whole time. And this is how he learned about the making the twins and all. Ugh, bro, it's just painful. It's painful. I posted this thing in my Discord the other day, and I'm just gonna read it out to you because it's actually hilarious. So it's a picture of May, and she's like looking at Saul, and it's like, you killed my mother. And then Saul's trying to explain himself. He's like, May, you literally started a fire. The witches had their weapons drawn on us, and your mother was turning into a ghost demon. I striked her out of pure instinct. I thought she was trying to kill us, and I feared for your safety because you were turning to smoke as well. We never intended for things to end like that. All we wanted to do was a peaceful resolution, but the witches became hostile and made the situation worse. Still, I know I made a mistake, but that doesn't mean you get to go on a murder spree. And honestly, that's the plot of the show. That is the plot of the show. I know somebody made that to probably try and be funny and poke fun at the script or whatever, but that's the plot of the show right there. And in my opinion, Soul isn't wrong.
No, he's not. He's not wrong. But what he did to start everything is wrong. Essentially, it was like, of course, it may have been instinctual, but it just also might have been a bit more emotional as well, on the level of like, she's about to disappear. I don't know what she's gonna happen. I gotta kill this lady before she ends up absorbing May or something, because for some reason she was starting to disappear. They don't explain any of that shit. It's so fucking dumb. It's like the worst thing you could do. Why was May disappearing? Why would, like, what is it that they do? I don't get it. It's like, what does this coven do? Why are they exiled, and who is your daddy, and what do they do?
I love that movie, by the way. Great reference. Kindergarten Cop for anyone who didn't get it. But like, honestly, right? Like, if I have a power, right, and I'm going to release somebody from the coven, but my power involves me turning into what looks like a demonic ghost, I'm going to give you a heads up first. I'm going to say, right, look, I'm going to release Osha to you. This is what she wants. But by the way, shit's about to get weird for a minute. Please don't attack me. I'm doing this in, you know, this isn't hostile. I'm doing this because this is what I have to do to release her or whatever, right? So how that doesn't happen, how she just decides out of nowhere when tensions are high to do that and doesn't think she's gonna get stabbed is beyond me. Like,
dude, it's as easy as going, you know, because May ran in. Osha's in trouble. The mama, what's going on? Like, you know, kind of be like, what's the matter, dear? Like, take a moment and listen to the kid. But like, the funny thing is that for a show that is supposed to be about these two girls, they don't listen to them. Like, they don't give them a chance. And so like, it turns into the situation of like, let's just be adults and do adult things and like go like do some crazy shit and possibly endanger our kids in such a moment, even though they were the most important people within their lives. And it's just like,
they said that they were the future of the coven. And they basically just destroyed the whole coven without even thinking about it and put the kids in danger.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. Because like, the moment May ran in, all they had to do to diffuse the situation was ask what's happening, where is Osha, and then like tell the Jedi, we will put this aside for now, we need to get Osha. Like, literally kind of work together, and then like find a way to kind of escape, in the sense too. Like, how cool would it have been if the coven didn't all just die in one shot, and they just managed to slip away one by one or something? Like, you know, they disperse, and then like, while they're trying to get Osha, oh shit, all the witches are gone. So like,
what's funny, again, you've made me think about this, and I haven't thought about this yet, but yeah, like, what was the plan, right? So when she started turning into a ghost and she started taking May with her, what was the plan? They were just going to run away. And when she says, I was going to release Osha, does that mean that she was just going to, they were all going to disappear? And it's like, you take her, you can have her. But she's dying in the next room. She's like in a burning building made of stone, by the way, but she's in a burning room. So it's like, does she not give a shit about Osha anymore? Like, she's just going to abandon her and bail with the rest of the coven. They're just going to disappear into smoke. And it's like, oh yeah, if you can save her from the burning mountain, you can have her. It's bizarre. It's a really fucking really strange decision as a mother.
Yep.
How she could just do that is bizarre to me. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah. If Soul had tried to attempt to move towards May, and the mother got pissed off, that's kind of like the mama bear mentality. Like, then I would understand that, like, kind of like, stay the hell away from my daughter. Yeah. Like, why couldn't you just say it like that? Like, at what point couldn't you be like, stay away from my daughter? Yeah. Like, stay away from them. You're a fuck. Like it literally felt like it was a predator situation. It's like, stay the fuck away from my kids.
Yeah.
Like, who are you to do whatever it is that you'd like to our children? And that wasn't even the case. The case was like, we just want to know if they're force sensitive because we'd like for them to go. And so, like, the Jedi gave them a chance.
They know they're force sensitive, though, because Saul witnessed them using the force in the forest, and that's why Saul wants them. And I think I don't know if it's a bit of an obsession or what it is, but he notices that they are force sensitive. They know that there's a virgins on the planet, and they think, okay, the virgins must be these two children. It's like, drop everything. We need these kids. They need to become Jedis. They are. And again, I don't know. They never mentioned the prophecy of the one. But again, obviously it's the two or whatever the fuck they're going to try and say. But they never do mention the prophecy. Like, again, the second that Qui-Gon Jinn mentions virgins, the word virgins, the second he says it to the council, they're like, Mace Windu straight away. Are you talking about the prophecy? The one who will bring balance to the Force? It's like, was that prophecy only made after the fact of this show? Like, again, more questions. Like, we gotta move on, bro. Like, I honestly, what I'll do is before. Go on, sorry.
It's so much nonsense, and I'm not trying to keep like rolling back on it, but like, why did they make this such a fucking like terminology now? The like virgins, like virgins. Like, what would you like? I get it. You're talking about like some sort of unnatural anomaly that occurs within the Force, in which case something is created, or some sort of Force energy is like localized around, a person. But like, the whole point of episode 1 was to like have that uniqueness with Anakin itself, and it's just a miracle. It is not called a virgin. It's a miracle that like he was just born out of nothing, as far as we know. Like, it could have been that Shmi like got with someone who was force sensitive, and then they had like a child. It could have been anything. And then there's all these speculations, like, what if it was a Sith Lord that happened again? Like, what are all these things that, like, and
I think it's been explained. And I think so. And again, I don't know if this is Legends, so don't kill me in the comments if this is Legends, but I think what's happening is that Plagueis is trying to create the perfect dark side user. And because the Force knows that he's doing this, the Force creates Anakin as the countermeasure, because again, it has to be balanced. So Plagueis is trying to do this, and then the Force goes, I don't think so. Here's the chosen one, Anakin, to fix everything. And I think that's literally why he does have no mother. But I think they tried to explain it in one of the comics, which again, I don't know if this is actually canon now, but in one of the comics, I think it's Vader 125 or Vader 123. There's a panel, you can look this up, but there's a panel where Palpatine is insinuating that he created Anakin. And you can see there's a panel where he's standing behind Shmi and doing some fucking Force shit, and then it's like she becomes pregnant. So I don't know if they've changed it, but I think literally the Force was reacting to Plagueis's manipulation, and that's how Anakin was created. And then now I don't know if it's canon, but I think there's a thing where potentially it's Palpatine, but I don't know if that's like a dream or something. I haven't read the comics, so I don't know. I've just seen the panels.
Right. And Griff, you're right. You're right. There is no father. There really isn't. It's a manipulation from what we understand. It's a manipulation of the force within Shmi's womb to create a child
Space
out of the
Jesus.
force. Essentially, yes.
Anakin
And
is space Jesus, yeah.
anti-space Jesus, because he creates like this balance that, which is literally the prophecy. Like, it created balance because it
It did.
destroyed an entire civilization of Jedi to create the smallest amount of Jedi against the smallest form of Sith. It's no
Yeah.
longer thousands of them versus two. It's
Yeah.
now literally like two
2v2.
two on two.
Yeah.
It's
Well, that was the
it's
original idea anyway. I think
right.
Disney are starting to fuck with that now as well, because it's like, they're doing all these extended stories, and then now it's like, well, Cal Kestis is around and he's canon now, and Ahsoka's canon now and she's around, and Ezra Bridger is around and he's canon now as well. So it's like, technically they're making all these Jedis, but I don't know, are they making dark side users to match it as well? I'd be curious actually to see, I do, for every light side user that they're adding to the canon, are they adding a dark side user as well? Because obviously there's the Inquisitors, but for every Inquisitor, is there a light side user? I don't know. I need to actually do a bit of more research on that, but I would hope that that's what they're doing, because again, of course, the Force is all about the balance, and that was the point of Anakin. And I would hope that Disney aren't adding loads of shit and making shit even worse. But I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think that they are.
Well, and then, like, even then, at the very end of Return of the Jedi, you see that Palpatine is killed. He's thrown down. I'm sticking with that canon. He's thrown down. He's killed. Vader essentially is going to die on the ship. So all the remaining known Sith are gone, and the only person left.
He's a Jedi at the very end. He does come back to the light. So, and that's why he becomes a Force ghost. Again, I don't understand. I never understood how he became a Force ghost, because he never would have got the training from Obi-Wan. But I've seen a couple of funny, like, kind of animated skits of, like, just before he dies, you see, like, the ghost of Obi-Wan going, "Hang on, wait a second, I gotta teach you something real quick." And it's like, that's how he learns to become a ghost. Or maybe he just, because he's the chosen one, maybe he just can naturally do it or something. Again, they've never explained that, but
I mean,
I always found those skits funny.
Of course. Well, like, even if he was born of the Force, I would assume, like, at the very least, he could become a ghost just from the get-go. Yeah, like, and it kind of makes it more interesting now that I think about it. If he's created out of nothing, and he creates, Luke and Leia, and essentially, like, the next generation of children, like, of course they're going to be, like, massively powerful, because they were literally born from the Force that was born from the Force.
Exactly.
In the sense.
That's why Luke is so powerful. Luke is feared in the galaxy, because it's like, he is the son of Vader, and he wiped out the Emperor and Vader and the Sith, and basically restored, like, got rid of he killed the entire Empire, like, one man. So, like, he is feared in the galaxy, because it's like, oh shit, like, this guy is invincible, basically,
Right.
And that's cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you go to the Acolyte, and then it's like, you just ruined everything that they had tried to make so unique for that situation. It just felt so undone. And if it's true that Palpatine manipulated Shmi's womb, then essentially the Coven knew how to do that themselves, which that would have been cool to understand. Maybe we should have had some sort of, like, backstory within this story, like, even further behind, when the children were coming around. Like, it would have been much more interesting that way. Then we would have been like, oh shit, okay, so that's pretty interesting. And then, of course, work out all the kinks here and there. But ultimately, it's an obvious story based upon the fact that, like, the light side and the dark side swapped places, essentially. May redeemed herself essentially by giving herself up, and also being having her memory wiped. Osha swapped to the dark side because she all of a sudden her emotions are now in play, because she was holding back this whole time. And it's like they're of the same mind, apparently. So it's like, it's hard.
One person, yeah, apparently.
It's really hard to gauge on that then. Like, it's so weird, because then you have the angry person that should have been part of the dark side is now uh essentially on the light side of things, like she's captured, and then the dark side character is, or the light side character just happens to become dark because she's pissed now, because
Yeah.
she finally learns the truth, which it if it was really played out and the story and the writing was done well enough, they would have had dialogue that said like, search your feelings, you know this to be true, because that's something that you hear in Star Wars a lot. Search your feelings. Like, it's a Sith thing. It's like, find your emotions, feel that thought
Mhm.
that you've been thinking this whole time, your fear in knowing that a Jedi murdered your mother. And
Mhm.
like, that would have been such a cool moment, especially with like Chimere, to like say something like that. But it still feels like this weird situation. And I think Chimere is on the same situation as Soul. I think he just really wanted to have someone to train and someone to bond with, and that's why you see him holding her hand. It's that moment where he's like, I'm not going to let you go, I'm with you. I don't know if it's just because like he wants her to feel her emotions and to understand that she's not alone, or if it's like literally just the hand showing like, I've got you now, kind of like I won in the situation.
Yeah, I don't know what the vision is for the characters, but again, we may never find out. If we do, I would love an expansion on this whole situation. Really, again, you're talking about like potentially, Palpatine like being the father of Anakin technically, and it's like, if that is the case, are we to understand that Plagueis spied on the witches, found out how to do it, and he taught Palpatine? Palpatine created Anakin. Like, are they going to change the lore? Like, is that going to be the canon going forward? And if that is the canon going forward, like, I don't know if everybody's going to like that. A lot of people don't like this show, and if this show becomes such an anchor in the lore and the canon is like, I hate it. I hate it personally. Like, I hate that potentially these witches are so involved in the creation of the Skywalker saga. Like, it's just painful to accept. Um, and I'm not a fan of it. I hope it's not true, but again, there's so many questions coming out at the end of it. I don't know how to feel. Like, I we do got to move on. We're nearly live an hour, and we haven't spoken about anything else. We're still on the Acolyte, so obviously it's a hot topic for me. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so look, I kind of had a feeling we were going to talk about it for a while. But what I'd like to try and end this conversation about this show on some positives, if it is possible. I thought the bleeding of the kyber crystal was kind of cool. I know, if you don't know, um when Lucas was in charge of Star Wars, he created it in a certain way that the dark side crystals were synthetic. They were created. They're not like natural. They're not found. The Jedi's used to go into the caves and find the crystals and make their lightsabers, but the Sith didn't have a way of doing that. So in George's story, they were synthetic. They were created. The red blades, it was unnatural, so they had to be created. Whereas now in the Disney canon, you bleed Jedi's crystal to become dark, and we saw that for the first time in live action. I thought it was pretty cool. We saw it again. If you played Jedi Survivor, you had probably seen they bled a crystal in that game, which was pretty cool as well. And it's been in the comics as well. In the new Vader comics, you see Vader going around killing Jedi, and basically he kills a Jedi. I can't remember the guy's name who he kills, but he like finally, after many attempts, successfully bleeds a crystal and gets his red lightsaber. But for I think for Anakin, it's like, he's very conflicted, and that's why he couldn't bleed it easily. Whereas May just does it in the heartbeat. Osha does it in a heartbeat. She just bleeds it straight away, and it's like, I kind of hate how easy it was for her, knowing how difficult it was for Anakin to do. But I don't know. And again, I think if anything, like, after Vader accepts his fate, becomes the apprentice to the Emperor, I think he is a Sith. Like, he's left the Jedi behind after the events of Episode 3. He's pissed off with the Order, and he's basically killed everybody. I think, and Padme's dead, so it's like there's no return. He's done. He doesn't know that he has any kids, so he has nothing to hang on to. I would think that would be easy enough for him to bleed a crystal. Whereas Osha, who was good 10 minutes before she turned, like she just found out that Saul killed her mother, and that's what turned her to the dark side. Like straight away, she bled a crystal in 2 seconds. Like, so while it was cool to see, I think there's plot holes as there is with everything else in this show, but at least it was a cool scene to watch.
Yeah, the way I see it, Finto, and I know that like I know we haven't talked about this in depth yet, but uh, I think that Anakin's way of like taking such a long time to bleed the crystal is way cooler
Yeah, oh
than
yeah.
just outright having it change.
Mhm.
So like I wouldn't say that it ruins it or anything. It just but it shows like how much Anakin was still holding on to that piece of himself, because even when he was killing all the younglings and everything, like anyone in the Jedi Council or like in the temple itself, um he was crying, dude. Like
Yeah, yeah.
he was teared up. Like you see teardrops. You see that he doesn't really want to do this, but he's willing to do whatever it takes to prevent the death of Padme, which in turn is like he doesn't realize is that he's the reason why, because
Mhm.
she's so stressed out from everything that he's doing and not understanding why he wants to do what he wants to do, because he won't express his feelings to the fullest. um it's this huge confliction that creates like that's this atmosphere of like, oh shit, like he really is holding on as much as he can.
Yeah.
um whereas Osha, who gives a shit? Literally,
Facts.
literally, I was happy a moment ago, you killed my mom, now I'm upset, and
And
now
now I'm a Sith fucking
now I'm
apprentice
evil.
straight away. Yeah.
Watch me get evil in just a
Yeah.
minute.
I'm gonna choke you to death. I saw loads of people online as well, like saying, like, "Oh my god, the first Force choke." I'm like, "What?" It's like, do people think that
The
was like the
fucking
first Force choke? Because like the way Kymir's like, she does know how to kill a Jedi without using a weapon. And it's like, well, you're not. You're using the Force as a weapon. Like it's,
right.
it's like, are they trying to insinuate that this is the very first Force choke ever? Like, go back and fucking play any of the games, like and I know this is Legends now, but it's like the Old Republic. Like you play as Jedi and Sith, and they go around Force choking the shit out of each other all the time. Like so, it's like it. Osha didn't create Force choke. You know, it's like what? I don't understand. Like some people, I think I don't know if they're watching this show properly. Like I just don't understand. Or they're like maybe they're watching it, but they've never seen anything else. They're brand new Star Wars fans. Fair enough. Like, but yeah, that's not the case. Like she did not just create Force choke. Like I saw people saying that online. I'm like, do you genuinely believe this is the first ever Force choke in thousands of years of Sith and Jedi? Like, no, obviously not.
It's the first visual recording of it. It's got to be the first one, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like there haven't been Jedi for like thousands and thousands of years. Like
We haven't seen, Star Wars The Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic, where clearly they're doing force choke. No, that was just unnamed.
yeah,
She coined it.
yeah, it was her. She did it. Ugh,
Dude,
I don't know.
but dude, like just thinking about it. Is there any firsts with this character whatsoever? And the only thing I can think of is like, well, she's the first, person to just go from light to dark side in a minute. I
Yeah,
guess so. It's like,
is that because like again they're one person split in two, so there has to be like a kind of evil one and a good one. So they like wipe May and make her the good one. So it's like Ocean now has to be the evil one. Like,
yeah,
do they
that's
is that yin and yang? Like literally, like they can't have two evil ones or two good ones.
exactly. And
Yeah,
so
I don't
that
know.
that was the whole, because if you
Okay,
it's
what's
so
up?
fucking weird when you go through it and you realize like May was so pissy at the beginning,
Hmm.
and then when she gets older, she's so nice to Osha. She's so friendly. She's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
happy. Like
You're alive.
when she should have been like, I should have killed you a long time ago or something. Like fucking give me some emotion.
Yeah,
And then Osha is like, oh my god, I just want to join the Jedi. And then like all this shit goes on and she's sad, and then she grows up and now she's indifferent and she's
yeah,
upset. So like clearly you could see like the swap that they were trying to portray, but it was
yeah,
just done so poorly.
yeah,
But I wanted to kind of conclude by saying one of the best moments I would say in the show is the fact that when they were talking about killing a Jedi without without the use of a lightsaber, without a weapon, essentially. It wasn't like it took a minute, and eventually I figured it out. But for anyone that was surprised by it, the revelation is that, it's not May that's going to do it, it's Osha, but because they're the same person, it's still technically, them completing the training and becoming the true acolyte, essentially. And I think that's really well done, but preceding everything else, it kind of like made it so lackluster.
Well, do you remember even to go back to the very start of the episode when Osha's wearing the Cortosis helmet and she has the vision of the future and she says, I know where May is. I've seen her kill Soul. She's actually watching herself kill Soul, but she doesn't even know it's herself. She doesn't even know it's her that does it, but she's actually viewing herself in the future killing Soul, but she doesn't even know it's her. So that's how connected they are. That's how much of the one person that they are, is that they don't even know the other person. They can't differentiate from each other, which I suppose everyone online's been kind of giving out about the actress's acting. It's like she has no difference between the two characters, but now it's like, well, actually maybe she was directed that way because they are the exact same person.
Right.
So I'll give her that, bit of relief. But she still was.
Give her that little gold star.
I still think she didn't act great in the show, but at least now it makes sense,
Yeah. And I mean, I think it could have been better though. Like, I think I agree with you though. Like, I think it's still kind of, a little bit lackluster. They're, you can't just have, I don't know. Like, I guess I can't explain it that well. It's just, let's move on. I'm done.
Yeah. Andre says, you've been talking about, you wanted to conclude this for the last 30 minutes. Yeah, I think you're right. Andre, let's move on. Yeah. Man, yeah, we're moving on. Hot D or the boys? What do you want to talk about next?
Let's do Hot D.
Hot D episode 5. I'm trying to think again, like, because I watched it a week ago, but we find out that the king survived the fall. He's in bits. He's pretty much melted, and the kind of yin and yang to like him matching his father, I think is very interesting because, like, again, he's bedridden, covered in bandages and stuff like that, kind of like how his father ended. And then Aemond is like the brother, like Daemon, like the kind of mirroring of the two sets of brothers. I think is very cool. Maybe a little too much on the nose, but I think it's good. I think it works. I'm trying to think. Alicent is very much kind of afraid of her son, which I think is a scary thought. She herself is like, what have we done? Like, he can't rule. Like, imagine thinking that way about your own child. Like, that's a very scary thought, I think. But like, yeah, I think the events of the episode coming up, I don't watch the previews or anything for the show. I like to kind of go in blind. I don't watch the next week on House of the. I don't want to see a fucking frame from the next episode. I want to just kind of go in blind and see what happens. But yeah, I think this week's episode coming up is going to be crazy, and I think there's only like 3 left, so it's it's good, man. Like, I think it's a really solid season, and I look forward to it every Monday. I get to watch it on Monday. What did you think of the scene? I see a lot of people online talking about it, and I saw even like Lad Bible put it up like one of the most disturbing scenes in Game of Thrones ever. It's like where at the start of the episode where Daemon is having sex with his mom. I didn't really blink at that, bro. I don't know why, but
yeah,
I didn't blink once at it. And I think that's how bad, or like not bad, but how like kind of shocking this show is now. It's just like, oh yeah, he's having sex with his mom. Okay, cool. It's obviously a vision. Like, how is he not killing the Red Witch? Like, it's so annoying. Like, if I was in that trapped in that castle with her, and she's like poisoning me and like playing mind games with me, I'd have to kill her. Like stop fucking around, get out of my head. Like,
it's definitely a situation where people don't understand, like, literally any sort of royalty, nobles, even gods, Empyreans, like things like that. Like if you've been playing Elden Ring at all, like a lot of it is very much, it sounds incestual at the
Yeah.
sense. Like it's very much um a situation where it's like, yeah, okay,
Hmm.
they're royalty. They want to keep their bloodline pure. They're going to do stupid shit like that so that they can keep it pure.
Yeah.
You know, you that's why I don't bat an eye to it. It's not because like, oh, I'm used to shit like that. It's like, which is weird. That'd be so weird.
Yeah.
It's more so like, I get it. They're royalty. They want to
Hmm.
keep the bloodline. And also it's also an Oedipus kind of complex where, you know, essentially like he wants to rule. He wants to be the king. He wants to be basically Big Dad, you know.
Hmm.
He wants to have it all, and that's the Oedipus complex, is like being able to take over and being the head of the household essentially. Um, and it's like it's fast stuff like that's fascinating because like you know, a lot of us in, and I'm not trying to get like really like psychological on this, but a lot of us don't understand that like when we were kids, more than likely we might have had that same thought, but it goes out of our head eventually because we grow out of it, because we realize like, oh, that's not right, like we really shouldn't, you know, think that way.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of like, you know, what Sigmund Freud was like trying to convey in his books and whatnot. And I remember taking like some classes on that kind of stuff. It's very, very interesting shit. Like it, you know, I even learned about how kids are picky when they grow up, and yet they grow out of it eventually. But in some cases, like in terms of like, let's say object permanence, they
Yeah.
just they assume like, and your daughter's going to have the same situation, Finto. If your daughter hates lettuce in her sandwich and you took the lettuce out of the sandwich, she might still not want to eat the sandwich because she thinks that that the lettuce has touched the food, therefore it's tainted with that lettuce.
Yeah.
It's like it's
I know people like that with onions, for example.
yeah,
Yeah, my one of my friend's dads, when we were growing up, like was like not that I don't even think he was like allergic to onions, but he hated them so much. I personally don't like onions myself. If I get a burger and there's onion on it, I'm going to scrape the onion off. But I won't go to the level that he used to go to, and probably still does. But he used to say we went to like McDonald's or something. He would order the burger and tell them that, you know, no onion, I'm allergic or whatever, and they'd have to make a fresh burger for him. And if it came out with onion, he would send it back
right.
because it's like he can't even scrape it off. He can't taste it, nothing. Like if onion touched the burger, it goes back. And yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how that was like a core memory unlocked because
Yeah, because
yeah.
like it's crazy things that we forget
Mhm.
that we did as kids. And like, you know, Damon clearly has repressed memories because he's, you know, he lost his mom at probably such a young age, and like he probably thinks he's the reason why she's gone.
Yeah.
And that like he feels inferior, which he shouldn't, because like, you know, clearly he's a strong tactician. He has good leadership skills in certain cases. He's just kind of ruthless, and I think that's maybe why like he doesn't understand why he shouldn't be king.
Yeah.
um but that's the same thing with Aegon and Aemon. Like it seems like their bloodline at this point has been tainted, um to believe that like they're the rightful heirs. Like all the men believe that they are rightful heirs, and whereas
Yeah.
like all the women are trying to keep as level headed as possible, because they're like, dude, we gotta like we gotta run this kingdom. What are you doing? Um,
Yeah.
but like even then, Alicent not realizing that she is being cast aside by the very misogynistic men that she employed is fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's just the
Yeah.
funniest shit ever.
Yeah. They turn around and basically say, like, because she's like, you know, maybe I should be queen because, you know, I did it for years while Viserys was ill, which is a valid point.
Yeah,
But they turn around, it's like, well, we can't put a woman on the throne if we're fighting a woman who's claiming to be the rightful heir. Like, that's just ridiculous, you know? It's
just
like,
like, what are you talking
yeah,
about?
yeah. Well, like that's again, that's how they think. And like even if you go to the like Rhaenyra's side of it, like her council don't really trust her either. Like, you know, they I think they're kind of there in a bit of fear. And they're like, okay, well, look, you know, we bent the knee to her father. We have to kind of, we're men of our word. But they don't want to answer to her. They definitely
Right.
don't. You know,
Yeah.
they're like, oh well, you know, you're not really seasoned. We need a warrior, blah blah blah. And I loved the line that she said when your man was kind of giving her shit. and she turned around and said, "There's been peace for 85 years. You don't know war either." That was like such a oh shit moment. Like, I was like fair play to her. Like, that was amazing, because she's like, as much about war as I do. There's been peace for fucking 80 years or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah. I was like, that was fucking great. So I loved that line. Like, fair play to her. That was a proper shot to the gut for him. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, it was great.
Another really good line was like, what am I to the queen? Well, you're the king. That's right.
Yeah.
Consort.
Yeah. Because it's funny though, like, and again, I was kind of saying this to my missus as well, like when we were watching the episode, like technically he's right, because and I understand when a queen is ruling, you wouldn't really refer to the husband as the king because king trumps queen, but technically, if he was on the throne, she would be the queen, right? So
Yeah.
she is the queen. So technically, yes, he would be the king, but if she's in charge, it is consort. But it kind of puts that like smudge on it, I suppose, and
right. It pissed him off
Oh yeah,
essentially.
big
Like,
time. Yeah.
But like Daemon, I feel like Daemon, although he may want to take over the throne, it almost sounded like he's willing to also share it.
Well, that's what he's, again, because like, and personally, I don't know how you feel about this. We haven't really spoke about it, but I'm not really a like, I love Daemon. He's probably my favorite character in the entire series, but I'm not crazy on this storyline that he's in right now. It just feels like it's very slow. He's just in that castle tripping balls the whole time. Like, how does he not realize that the witch is like just controlling him? I don't understand, but I think it's very slow. But again, in this episode, finally, we kind of get the verbal kind of confirmation that, yeah, he is looking to go out on his own. He's looking to usurp his wife and take the throne for himself. And he's like, well, she can sit beside me and rule if she wants, but technically it is her throne, not his. But, and what's so interesting, and it's the Game of Thrones way, but all these people have a legitimate claim to the throne. And I suppose the only way that you can actually take the throne is by force. Like, that's it. Like, because no matter which way you chop and screw it, every single person that's trying to sit on the throne has a legitimate claim to that throne. But whoever's going to, like, war is going to ensue, and whoever wins will just take it. And obviously that's how the Baratheons get in when we come to the very start of Game of Thrones. It's like they just have obviously just taken it by force.
Yeah, but it's also because of the Mad King, which it makes sense. Like, they felt like the Targaryen bloodline was kind of reaching its end, in terms of like ruling properly. And so when Baratheon came in, Robert took over, Ned helped,
can you
Jaime.
imagine, like, in a real world, can you imagine how fucked up the bloodline would be with all of the incest? Like, it'd be horrendous, bro.
It's horribly fucked up. That's why that's why when Rhaenyra had a child with Daemon, I think it was supposed to be a boy.
That's their third child, though.
Yeah,
had two already.
Right, but because of it's really the implications that because of their bloodline being too pure, there's always that chance that you're not going to have a proper birth. Things are going to go wrong. It's also, she was stressed out like crazy too. But it's a fucked up situation. Like, it's, you really don't want to do that. You don't want to make everything pure. Like, you've seen dog breeds before. The purest of dog breeds die the soonest because they're just riddled with issues. There's nothing. There's
genetic makeup is just all damaged because it's incest. Like, it's
right.
Genetically it's not good. So I always find it funny that like all the Targaryens in the show are all like beautiful people, and like they've got the long white hair, and they're all considered to be like gods amongst men and stuff, but like in the real world they would all be deformed looking and everything, like, because it's just generation after generation after generation of just incest. Like, even Aemond, the current king, is married to his sister, and he's popping out kids left and right with his sister. It's like,
it's
vile.
the weird it's the weirdest thing, man. But that's royalty for you. Like, they're so up their own asses thinking that they need to keep it
we're
pure.
only good enough. Yeah,
exactly. When in reality, all they have to do is, if they continue to have like boys, then all they have to do is just kind of like Alicent was kind of the difference there.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, you kind of see the double-edged sword in this. You know, they have, you know, not pure-blooded, you know, Targaryens, but they're fucking assholes.
Yeah, it creates conflict straight away. That's how it became green versus black, was because of Alicent. When they introduced the Hightower into the bloodline, it causes the conflict and the tearing up of the family, which, yeah, again, is I can see logically why they think of doing it, but morally and genetically,
Yeah,
it's so wrong. Like,
it really is. But
yeah,
we're not royalty, so we'll
of
never
course,
know that. We'll never
no,
understand it. But I mean, we're on the outside looking in, and I think it's weird. So,
it is weird. It is weird.
um,
Facts.
but like besides all that though, I think that what's going to happen is like Aemon's gonna fuck up royally faster than Aegon will. Um,
Yeah,
I think
I
he's
think.
gonna get maybe like a good win, but it's gonna come at a huge loss.
Yeah, I've kind of been saying this since the start. Like, the only way to take out his dragon would be for every dragon on the black side to attack all at once. And in this episode, they reference this. They're saying, you know, we have dragons, but we don't have riders. And then Jace comes in with the best line, or the best idea of the whole series so far. It's like, well, what about all the bastards? And again, a
Yep.
bastard brings this up, but brilliant. You know, think like a bastard because you are one. But he's like, we have so many illegitimate Targaryens who could be dragon riders. And obviously, in this episode coming up this week, we're probably going to see them going out recruiting all of these half Targaryens, and they're all going to become dragon riders. And I'd say by the end of this season, you're going to probably see like one big shot of a bunch of dragons like laid out on a beach or something that's going to look fucking epic, man. And I think that's going to be their play. They're going to go, right, 10v1, let's go, let's take out the biggest dragon in the world.
And we're for sure going to see the one that was at the pub, right? The one that was like, I am half Targaryen, because
Yeah.
you could sort of see it in his hair.
Yeah, he's actually, so I know that actor. So when I saw him pop up, I was like, he's a well-known actor in the UK. Like, he does like a lot of like comedy roles and stuff in the UK. And when I saw him pop up, I was like, this guy has to come back into it because they've hired like a pretty big actor to do this. Like, it's not just a normal extra or whatever. So I was like,
Mhm.
this guy's a well-known actor. He's gonna have like a relevance in potentially the next season or whatever. Griff says in the chat here they still have Vermitor. I don't know if I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Who is as big as Vhagar, which is scary. That's cool. I'm gonna guess that this dude that you're talking about is gonna ride that dragon. Maybe.
Vermitor is the fifth largest, so he can square up with Vhagar.
I think the only way to take Vhagar out is to be like, you know, do like a 5v1 and they all kind of pounce on him at the one time and take him
Right.
apart that way. And hopefully not, but kill Aemond at the same time. That'll be the plan. I hope they don't, because I want Aemond versus Daemon. Has to happen, bro. It has to happen.
By the way, I'm surprised we haven't talked about the fact that they paraded a dead dragon.
That was cool. The head,
Dude, like,
sick.
but like, you know, when they brought it out and they were like, you know, he slayed a dragon.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that the townsfolk was like,
that's a bad omen.
Not a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they were all scared. Yeah, bad omen. Yeah. And like, that's how people would think back then as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the dragons are mystical creatures, and you know, they're meant to be worshipped. And it's like, if you're parading around with a dead dragon head, it's like that's bad juju. You know, that's
and that's the thing, is like Aegon, Daemon, like the Targaryens, they are known for being dragon riders. They take care of dragons as well. They have the dragon symbol on their fucking flag, for Christ's sake. Like, and you kill one, and so like your symbol, you literally sing your symbol on a fucking cartwheel, on a wheel cart. Like, why didn't they think of that? Why didn't they think like, oh,
well, that's Cole. You know, Cole made that decision, and I think it's another fuck up for him, because I think, isn't it, when he gets back to King's Landing, it's like the first thing that's said to him, it's like, why did you do that? And he's like, well, we had to, you know, showcase the victory or whatever. It's like, no, you've scared the entire city now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they're all terrified now. They all think it's a bad omen. So,
but
Cole's an idiot. Like, we know this. Like,
oh yeah,
he continuously does stupid shit.
Right, because he thinks with his dick. So
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. And then the same like with Aemond,
Ridiculous. I like what you did.
ridiculous. Yeah, I
I
get
like
you.
what you did there. Sorry, go on.
With Aemond, I know that he's better suited to rule, but he's also ruthless, and I think that's what Allison is very scared of.
Yeah.
He like because Aemond is very smart, but he's also kind of like a spiteful character. He well, I mean, Aegon was very spiteful as well. Like he held the rat catchers up forever, like they were
Yeah.
turning into bones, and it's just it's so sad, like to think that you have a king that's willing to let bodies just rot out in front of the area. You're gonna get your kingdom filled with plague. Like it's so
Yeah.
stupid. Eamon
Yeah.
understands that. Like why would you parade like dumb stuff like that? Like it's a childish thing to do. And Aemond, although he is young, he's a bit more level-headed than Aegon, but he's also very like very
He's ruthless.
conniving.
Yeah. And again, it's because he spent his entire life being bullied, and now he has power. And what
Right.
happens when you give a bully power? They turn into a villain, basically. So I think that's what's coming. You're gonna get like an insane villain arc with him, and I don't know if it's gonna turn out to be like, I know I keep saying I want him versus Damon, but I think if the two of them meet, one of them's gonna die, and they're my two favorite characters in the show. So I'm kind of sad. I'd be sad at the fact if they both died, or if one of them died.
Right.
Yeah, it'd suck. But I do still want to see the fight. It
Oh,
has
dude,
to
yeah,
happen, bro.
it'll be epic. It'll be 100% epic. It's one of the things that I'm hoping for, because not only do they look very similar, but they act the same. It's except one of them's having weird ass dreams because he's horrified by his past, and then another is just lonely and wants to feel like love and care, and that's why he goes to the brothels and hangs out with that one lady that he first laid with.
Yeah.
Which, like, to be honest, that's like, I know it's a brothel, but that's a very sweet thing to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like he just wants to feel comfort from that lady.
He's the prince. He should be able to get like whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So if he was looking for that sort of thing, like, he could click his fingers
all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man, I don't really have anything else much to say about that episode. Like, it was a fantastic episode, and I'm very much hyped for next week. I think Jace is gonna come out on top at the end of this season. I think he's probably made the biggest move in the whole season. Like, it's gonna be massive. Like, if they can utilize all the dragons, it's gonna be insane.
And I can't remember the Valerian guy's name. The Lord of the Tides, or Lord of the.
I know who you're talking about. The Rhaenys's husband.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him like on screen more often. Like him and Rhaenys were the coolest characters in my opinion. Like I'm really interested in seeing what they're.
I have a bad feeling about him, man.
You think so?
I don't know if he's gonna survive.
Probably not.
I get the feeling that they're gonna go out into like a sea battle or something, and he's gonna fall. Like,
but he's just like one of the top. So like I would still be excited to see that. But like, it's just the presence that those two have brought together.
Yeah.
Like, it's so fucking cool. Like Rhaenys was like, went out like a G. She managed to like help take down basically like one of the kings, which we'll see if it helped or not. We don't know if she died. Like, we didn't see her like hit the ground, so we don't know.
She was in, when they were bringing the head in, she was on a cart in like a box.
Really?
Yeah. So her body was in that box. So they were taking her and the head through King's Landing, I believe.
I thought that was just Aegon.
Maybe. I could have sworn I saw her, but maybe you're right. I don't know. Oh, so you think they were hiding Aegon, bringing him in the box?
Yeah, like,
just so that no one could see him.
Yeah, because if they saw Aegon like that, everyone would have been freaking out. They're like, "We don't have a king! What the like they?"
Yeah.
Like, it's like, not only is a dragon being paraded like dead around the castle, but now our king managed to basically die along the way. Morale would drop exponentially. That shit would just it would just be horrible.
They do find out though, right? Don't they? They find out that Aegon was injured, and then because everyone, you see that scene where they're in the street and everyone's like, "Who's the king? We don't have a king and all." And then Aemon's like, I think it's announced that Aemon's going to take over, and
Yeah,
again,
but I think they
instant
only
fear,
right.
instant
Yeah,
fear.
but well, they don't let him know that like he was burned. I think they just
Yeah,
say that he's incapacitated at the current time, so we
yeah,
need ourselves a king regent. So
yeah. I think the
um
official story is he's in a coma or whatever.
yeah, which I mean that's fine. It'll be interesting if we see him wake up. This is the show's really good so far. I'm
Yeah,
having a great
loving
so
it, bro. And I just think like the only my if I was to complain, it's just I think the Damon story is being dragged out a little too much. I think he needs to kind of do something because
dude, I love his builder arc.
I look, it's good, but it's slow. That's the only thing. Because like every time we go back there, he's either sitting at the table eating with like 4 or 5 people, and not a lot's happening. Now I think they've in the episode that we've just seen. The I'm terrible with the family names, but those people come in and say, look, they're not bending the knee to him, and like he's kind of lost his ground army, and it's like, what's he going to do now? So
It's
I think at least we now know. I think when we move into the next episode, he's going to get out of that castle. I think.
I think it's mainly because he doesn't realize he's not that good at picking the right people to help him. That's Rhaenyra's job, and
Yeah,
he's not letting her do it. Um, Damon is absolutely a fantastic warrior, but he's not a great tactician. Like in terms of hiring people, he might be good at like flanking the enemy. He might be good at like leading the army on the battlefront, but when it comes to like setting up the pieces,
yeah. The
he's done
game.
nothing but yeah, he's done nothing but take a shit, and
True.
it's fucking it's crazy. I love the scenes because you can clearly see like he's just losing it because he's like, oh fuck, I lost again. Um,
Do you
it-
think that the witch is actually the Red Witch?
no,
I've seen people talking about that online, and I don't know. Again, when I try to be careful when I'm like reading about this show because I don't know if it's people that are talking from the experience of reading the books, and I don't
mhm.
know if this is official spoilers or if it's speculation. So I try not to read up on it too much, but I did see people talking about how they think that she's actually the Red Witch that revives Jon Snow because I think when you see her in her true form, she's like old and deformed, and like it's kind of said in the lore in the books or whatever that she has been around for. They don't know how long she's been around for. She's been around for like potentially hundreds of years using magics to stay alive, and this could be like the young version of herself.
Which I would find very odd considering she hasn't done anything magic based yet.
Well, like she's fucking around with Damon, giving him all these like visions and all this sort of shit.
Do we know that?
Yeah, she's seen giving him the drink with all the blood in it and all, and casting
Oh,
spells on him and all.
you're talking about the lady. Talking about the lady at Harrenhal.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm thinking about the wrong woman. I don't know. Maybe she's part of whatever group that they're part of. But other than that, like I think she's just a woman, and I think he's just having hallucinations.
I think it'd be cool if it was the Red Witch because it would kind of like tie into the
Oh, of
story. At least
course.
we know where she goes. It'd be cool. But yeah, again, I don't know. I saw again. I hope this isn't a spoiler, but I saw somebody talking and theorizing online about how potentially Damon could be like the Ice King or whatever. And like somebody put like a side by side, and I was like, he kind of does look like a Targaryen. Was it
Well,
explained? I can't remember the end of Game of Thrones, but was it actually explained who the Ice King was? I think you see a vision of how he gets created, but I don't think they reference who he actually is. Where he
he
gets like stabbed by the children of the fucking forest or whatever, and I think that's how they create him. But I don't think it mentions
yeah,
who he actually is. I need to go back and research this myself. But
it's essentially a character that comes into the area and disrupts what's of the like woodland creatures, and I think like whatever fairy or stuff like that. Like basically, I think they started like getting close to chopping down the trees, and they didn't want that.
yeah,
And so they planned to kill him, and they killed him in a way where basically he was magically kept alive,
mm,
and so he became undead, and then he decided to get his revenge by plotting to always go after them and destroy the world as it is, and that's why they build a wall, because they realize they made their mistake,
Yeah.
and so they're hiding it essentially. And that's what I
Yes.
remember. I could be 100% wrong.
I don't.
But
Yeah,
that's
I
what
don't. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have brought it up because I don't. I don't know the answer, but I might do. I might do a bit of research and see. But again, I kind of want to stay away from it because I don't want to like accidentally ruin something. You know.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a dangerous game playing the speculation game with this show. Because I enjoy being a nobody fan and experiencing it all for the first time, and to naturally move into the boys because we're an hour and a half live. But the boys is I'm the exact same when it comes to the boys. I know nothing about comics or arcs or anything like that have happened outside of this show. So I'm very happy to kind of be viewing this as a first time viewer as well.
Mhm.
Talk to me about the boys, the finale of season 4. What did you think?
Oh, it's fantastic. I think a little bit of sloppy work was done, but other than that, it was told in a very well mannered way. I think that uh, the cliffhanger on the previous episode was fantastic, because then it showed like how much was done behind the scenes that we didn't even realize, and then it leads up to this point where um, shit's hitting the fan. You know, they're not like Homelander's not taking it anymore. He thinks that he needs to take charge and get rid of certain characters and reveal them as well. In which case it seems to backfire on him a little bit here and there. Um, but ultimately it works in his favor because Sage is just working behind the scenes this whole time. She had planned so far ahead, which makes me believe that Sage knows the end of the series. Um,
Yeah.
I think like, because if she's going to stick around, she knows how it's going to end.
Mhm.
And we, you know, it would be kind of cool. Like she said that, I did it because I just wanted to see if I could. Um, which I think is great. That's something that I would always tell people to aspire to do. Like, do it because you think you can.
Yeah.
Um, it, when you look further down the line, can you imagine if she's like, well, now that I put him in power, what, like, can I get rid of him? Is it like, how awesome would that be if she actually figured out a way to get rid of him
Mm.
and was like, yeah, I'll just figure out a way to get rid of him, because she can. And then it turns out, like, she's such a good mastermind that she in it, or it could be the other way. She's such a good mastermind that she inadvertently helps the boys. Um,
Or maybe, yeah, maybe she wants to help the boys because, I feel like this season really kind of showed how dangerous Homelander is. And I think, like, most of the people, there's all people I feel like in the Seven, especially in all, and in the Vought Tower or whatever, they've always kind of feared Homelander because they know the truth about him. But I feel like more and more people are seeing the real Homelander, and like there's a real kind of sense of fear about him. And I kind of get the feeling that now, where he's sitting as this season ends, he's like right hand man to the fucking president of the United States.
yeah.
And realistically, he's probably the president of the United States. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think what's going to happen is the next season we're kind of going to get like a kind of like an Injustice Superman. He's going to like kind of take over the world, and they're going to realize like the people who are left, anyone who opposes them, but they're going to have to work together, kind of like the Injustice storyline where all the good side have all banded together. Few like previously people who may have been villains as well, like they all just end up teaming up together because they just know that they need every single person available to try and take him out.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, Griff says in the chat here, kind of mad that Newman died. Yeah, I didn't really like that myself. I kind of thought it'd be interesting to see her in the final season, but the second that they outed her on air, I kind of thought, "Ugh," like, I think that's maybe the end of her, So, uh, I don't know.
It's necessary because she's incredibly powerful,
Mhm.
even behind the scenes with the boys. As much as maybe they would have been able to trust her. Um, you know, Butcher realizing that he wants to take charge again, and gives in to the parasite, really shows that, like, he absolutely does not trust her. The boys didn't really trust Newman as well. Like,
Oh,
they still had
they
a lot
wanted to
of,
kill her. They wanted to
yeah.
kill her. They did. Yeah.
So And that's why he turns around and he goes, "You're fucking welcome."
Yeah, I
Like,
did what you couldn't do.
right. So
Yeah.
like, because, and like, rightfully so, like it was necessary. And the boys couldn't handle that thought,
Yeah.
because they're not Butcher. And that's the whole point of the show, is like, you need Butcher, to kind of do all the dirty work, whereas everyone else is kind of like the damage control slash, like, um piece placer.
Yeah.
And they're the resources, they're all the things that Butcher needs to kind of finish the work. And because Ryan has essentially left, and he killed, Grace,
That was
it,
a
it
tough
it
scene.
it was a bit of a tough scene, but it was also kind of one of those moments of like, lady, he can literally kill you, just let him go. If you really wanted to keep him there, you would have hit the button immediately, and she
Yeah.
should have just stepped aside. But like, it's good plot work. But it's always that moment of like, you're gonna die, like it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
um
Like
but
she was like, it was a very emotional scene because again, she was kind of, she's like, my kids died and my life was upside down, and then I met you and you kind of restored hope into my life, and I love you, kid. And then she just kills him, and it's just like, oh no, bro. It was like, it was tough, and I think that's gonna really eat at Ryan in the next season, and I think that could be what maybe flips him to the good side, because he's gonna be very much guilt ridden from that incident, I think, and I think that might actually fully flip him, and then he'll be good come the last season. Like, my prediction has always been that Ryan is the one who kills Homelander, and he'll be like the Homelander of the future, but what the public perceive Homelander to actually be, he'll be the good guy. He will be the actual hero. I think that's how it's going to end.
mm,
Because, all these stories, they always end with the bad guy dying, and, the heroes win. The heroes win the day. So I'd be again. Well, maybe I don't know. I'd be shocked. Again, I don't know anything about the source material, but I'd be shocked if the show ends, because we know it's ending with season 5. I'd be shocked if Homelander lives at the end.
it would be a strange situation for him to live at the end of it all, but I can see how it would be a pretty cool ending to have a bad ending,
Yeah,
essentially. Um, because we don't necessarily get bad endings when it comes to shows like this. Usually it ends on a good note. And the last time we saw essentially a bad ending was, I would say, Breaking Bad. Um, at the very end of it all, essentially we see, Walt, and we don't know whether he's gone or not, but it's just implied that he's gone. Um, but
I
they can
don't
always.
remember. Yeah, I don't remember Breaking Bad ending badly. I don't
No,
know.
no, no. I'm
I
not.
haven't
I'm
really
saying
watched it.
no, no, no. I'm not saying ending badly. I'm saying ending like
Oh,
it's a bad
sorry,
ending.
sorry. Yeah,
Like, kind of the
the
force of
villain
evil
wins.
wins.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I
Yeah.
missed one. I thought you were saying that it ended poorly or something. I was like, I don't remember it ending poorly. I thought it was
No,
like
no. It
pathetic.
ended
Yeah,
fantastically.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I got confused there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, it's kind of like when you see, the previous seasons of Game of Thrones, and like sometimes you get a bad ending to the season, and but it's so cool because it's like, oh shit, I really thought things were going to go, in the positive way. I thought Rob was going to make it, um and it just doesn't. Like, sometimes it just ends in the worst way possible, because the people that are in power have way too much of it and are using it effectively.
yeah. Um, I saw Kripke actually directed this episode, like the creator of the show directed the season finale. And I loved, again, I'm a massive Supernatural fan, anyone who doesn't know, but I loved, like, Bobby, the president, Bob Singer. His name in Supernatural is Bobby as well. And the director, one of the main directors of Supernatural's name is Bob Singer. So it's all just references back to Supernatural. So I fucking love that. But like, you see him when he's like putting in the panic room and all, and he's like saying like, balls and Egypt and all this stuff. Like, that's like, all they're all Bobby lines from the Supernatural. So I was just in my fucking element watching it. I just loved it. And then when I see at the very end, it's like directed by Eric Kripke, I was like, it makes sense to me now. All the Supernatural references, of course. Um, loved it, man. And then obviously, yeah, the after credit scene. Griff just brought up Soldier Boy coming back. Is a wild card. Why would Homelander revive him? I think he's. I don't. Again, I presume because again, Soldier Boy was such an incredible, like one of the best characters in the whole show, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a Supernatural simp, but Eccles was incredible. The character of Soldier Boy was so cool. I don't know, maybe if because I'm trying to remember the end of season 3. Because I know doesn't Soldier Boy want to kill Ryan? Does he want to kill Ryan? Or sorry, he wants to turn Ryan evil and use Ryan. But basically, I'm wondering. Again, I'm just predicting. I don't know any of this to be fact or anything. This is just pure speculation. But my guess is that what's probably going to happen is Homelander's going to keep Soldier Boy on ice. He knows he's there, and as a wild card, he'll bring him out if he absolutely has to. And I think what might happen is if Ryan turns good, we know that Ryan is more powerful than Homelander. So maybe then Homelander wakes up Soldier Boy and is like, we need to kill this kid because he's going to wipe us all out. And maybe that's how they end up father and son against grandson. That's kind of how I think maybe it'll go. And then I think maybe Butcher, it looks like the switch is flipped on him. He's pure evil now. He is the parasite, like Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character has taken over, sort of thing. But maybe Ryan will be able to pull him back a certain amount to where he'll still be able to use the parasite powers, but he'll be more Butcher than Jeffrey Dean, if that makes sense. Maybe. And then him and Ryan will work together or something as a big kind of 2v2 battle at the end, which would be fucking sweet next season. But yeah, I don't know. I did enjoy it. I thought the finale was the best episode of the season, which is always great to end strong. I think the season in its entirety was probably the worst season of the show altogether. But it's still good. Not saying it's bad, but I'm saying it's probably the lowest of the 4 seasons. But the finale was really good. Like, I really enjoyed the finale. I thought it hit the landing. Annie as a character, Starlight, I kind of hated her all season. She kind of felt weird to me. Like, I didn't really like her character this season too much. But then in the finale, she was incredible. Again, like Erin fucking Moriarty or whatever her name is, the actress. I feel like she felt kind of flat all season. I kind of felt like Starlight wasn't really doing much. And any scene she was in, she was just kind of like mopey and didn't really do much. But in this episode, like the shifter where she's like fighting herself and everything, I thought it was fucking brilliant. It was brilliant. Loved it. Poor Huey, the whole season, he just kept getting dealt bad card after bad card. I felt so bad from this season because, like, obviously his father dies, and then in the very next episode, he's like in the dungeon getting fucking dominated. The poor bastard. And then it comes to like, the next episode after, and it seems like Starlight's done a 180 and she's kind of coming out of her shell again, and the two of them are getting on great and they're having loads of sex, and he thinks everything's great, but then it turns out that's not her at all. It's a fucking shifter. It's like, oh no. I just felt so bad for Huey, bro. Like, he just got such a shit hand this season. What do you think as well of the whole Frenchie thing with Kimiko? So it turns out, remember I said to you, I was
yep.
3 seasons. Yes, I'm like, no, I'm so annoyed. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now. I looked over to Katie and I said, well, looks like Finto got what he wanted.
But again, it was like they destroyed the 3 season buildup and then like went back on themselves on it. And I know, I suppose,
they didn't go back on it. It was just such a good moment. She
didn't think she was good enough for him or whatever. And I was like, yes, thank God. I was like, this is great.
That's a good reveal.
No, it is. It was. Because again, I was so pissed off that 3 seasons felt wasted. She said, oh, it'll never happen. I'm not interested in you. I was like, no. But now it's like, oh, I was lying, by the way. And I do love you. Yeah. And I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. But then again, poor Frenchie, he's had like such an up and down season as well. Like, nothing but just devastation. And then at the very end of the show now, he's been mind controlled by the girl from Gen V. God knows what she said to him, but he's obviously gone off now to work for Homelander, I'd say, for the next season. And we finally get Kimiko speaks as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I've seen some fucking brilliant memes online about that moment, where like stuff that she was like whispering in his ear and stuff. She's like, you like dudes again? And it's her like, no.
Wow.
Yeah. So funny, man. I love the internet, man. Like, they're so quick with it as well. I saw that like pretty much the morning after the episode aired. I'm like, how do people think of this stuff so quickly? I'm like, that's absolutely fucking genius.
it makes sense,
Yeah,
like you're gonna have millions upon millions of people watching it. One of
yeah,
them's got to have a sense of humor that's gonna reach out to like something in the back end, and
yeah,
like that's a fantastic joke,
yeah.
especially like because that would be rough. Um, but
Yeah,
I do love how it pretty much ended with Kimiko wanting to say something because she couldn't sign at that point, and she
mm,
realized like I
I
can't
have
say
to speak.
anything to yeah, I have to say something. And it was really cool how she explained in the season that she essentially can talk. She just as like
It's a
took a
block.
vow of silence
Yeah,
essentially, like
mm,
because she just felt so horrified by what she did in the past.
yeah,
And you know because of her feelings and like because she has her feelings and they're in the right direction for her now, she must have felt that strong sense to say something,
yeah.
in which case like I'm assuming we're going to see more chatter as we
Oh,
go along in this fifth
I'd say
season.
I'd say she's broken because I the way I perceived it was like it was a traumatic like mental block to why she couldn't speak because there's no way that she was doing it out of choice in my opinion because like if you think back on the first 3 seasons and even the events up to right then when she did speak, there's so many times where she really needed to speak and life or death almost where like it's like I need to say something but she couldn't. So I always
Mhm.
thought of it as like a traumatic mental block, and I think she just that so much so that now there's a new traumatic block that is Frenchie, the love of her life, being taken away from her. That it's broken. She's like, I have to speak.
Yeah, and
Have you spoke once in the comics? Oh no, bro.
they're
Oh
like
no.
there's if they do that, that's great. If they don't,
Yeah,
then I get it because
yeah.
they really want to kind of give because it's not 100%. It's not going to be 1-to-1. Like it's
Yeah,
already
yeah.
changed a lot. Like it was supposed to be that Noir in the comics is a clone of Homelander,
I heard
and so
that. Yeah.
they've changed that out. So which I think is
I was
fine.
scared. I was scared
Yeah.
because I saw that leak and well, I would consider that a leak. But I saw that online and I was like, fuck, I wish I didn't read that because if that happens, it's going to be such a great
It's already
reveal. And
spoiled.
yeah, and it got spoiled on me. But then obviously we did see him without the mask off, did we? In this season, I'm trying to think. We definitely saw him, or we definitely heard him speak, and he doesn't sound anything like Anthony Starr. So I feel like they haven't gone that way. But I don't think he
He
took the mask off, did he?
oh, I swear he did.
Maybe he did. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. I did see because
Possibly.
again, massive Supernatural fan. I know I keep saying it, but Jared Padalecki was like rumored. He's rumored to be in the final season. So I think Kripke has recently said that he has a character for um Jared to play, who plays Sam, Dean's brother in Supernatural. So in the final season, we're going to potentially have Jeffrey Dean, we're going to have Jensen, and now we're going to have Jared as well. So it's a proper Supernatural reunion, which is
Mhm.
incredible. But I think a lot of when it first got announced that he was going to be coming on, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I wonder is he the Black Noir?" Which would be kind of cool if like the helmet comes off and it's fucking Jared Padalecki. I think that'd be sweet. But I don't know. Griff is saying yes, so I think maybe the helmet did
Yeah,
come off.
yeah, I'm looking right now. There is a picture of him removing his mask.
He was a black guy, was he? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's Black Noir. It,
No, but well, yeah, yeah,
like the name is
yeah,
inherently supposed to be racist.
yeah, yeah. Of course. I saw. I can't remember what skit I saw or where it was from. It's like, can you name a black superhero that doesn't have black in his name? And it's like someone's like this big superhero sweaty's like trying to think of how many like people don't have like how many black superheroes don't have black in their name. There is a few. There is a good few, but like there is so many that do have black in their name. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, but they own it. I feel like they
Oh, they
own it.
do. Facts. Absolutely. I and again, I don't think of it like that. He's called Black Panther because he's black. I don't think of it like that. That's not the way
No,
I think of
no.
the
I
character at
think it'd
all.
be because he actually took the persona of a Black Panther. Um,
And like all usually the suits are black as well. So I always
yeah,
kind of attribute the black to the suit, not the
right.
skin color of the
Well,
person.
right, because like when in the comics when Bucky takes over and becomes the White Wolf, he's literally in a Black Panther style suit, but
But
it's
it's white.
called the White Wolf.
Yeah, and it's a white suit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I always attribute the black in the like again, Green Arrow. I always think the suit's
Yeah.
green.
Green Arrow, Red.
Green Lantern, the suit's green. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where my head goes.
You don't have to
Um
keep explaining yourself until we know you're not racist.
No, I love black people, bro. I love them. I wish I was
Oh,
black, man. I do.
okay.
I love hip hop music so much. I would love to be black. Honestly, I'm not even joking when I say that. What's Chris saying
All
here?
right.
When Homelander and Newman went to the tech, they showed him and Deep speaking. Oh yeah. So yeah, they have that scene in episode 6. I do remember that. The
And
Deep had a pretty cool finale as well
he had a
because I
deep
think
moment.
he did, but again, they're still not because I don't think I saw somebody talk about this online, and it's like I love that they haven't redeemed the Deep because he doesn't deserve it, and like he is still like a villain, and it's where he exactly should be. But yeah, I think
Well,
he's gonna have a
and
bit
he
of a tragic
embraced it.
end. Yeah, he did embrace it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's gonna have a bit of a tragic end next season. I think most of them are,
Oh, um,
if not all of them.
I I I think everyone's gonna die.
Yeah, I do as well. I think it's gonna be, but at the end of the show, a couple of the boys' characters, like a couple of the good side, and the son, Ryan. I think that's going to be it. Everyone else is going to be just wiped out. I think like they're going to even take down the tower. I think he's going to like burst through the tower and just destroy it. Like I
That'd be
think
really
like
cool.
Vought will be destroyed like literally by the end of the show. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but it could go
going,
completely the other way. And
yeah,
with the show, the boys, that would not surprise me if it went the other way. And the show ends with Homelander doing like a Superman, like kind of like ruler of the world sort of thing. That wouldn't surprise me either. With this show anyway. I gotta be like, oh yeah, okay, Homelander wins. Yeah, okay, yeah. He's a
yeah.
dictator of the planet. Yep, okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
So going back on the Soldier Boy situation, it it turns out like he considers Homelander a weakling. Um,
Yeah,
so and the reason why like basically Homelander and Butcher fought against Soldier Boy was because Soldier Boy wasn't respecting Ryan either. He hit Ryan in retaliation because Ryan was trying to save Homelander.
right.
So like it's this weird situation of them probably going to reconcile their differences and understand like,
Homelander and
hey,
Soldier Boy, you think?
yeah,
Yeah,
because like he's gonna be like, hey, guess who's the new president? And he's gonna be like, holy shit.
yeah.
And like, I don't know if he's gonna give him power as well. Maybe they're gonna have some sort of situation. Like, but it just seems so chaotic to want to take him out. And put him somewhere.
Yeah, it's I could see it going that way, but I could see it doing a complete 180 as well. I could see maybe somebody else waking Soldier Boy up and going, Homelander's put you on ice here. Him and his son are working together. They're in Vought Tower, and it's like, work with us. We'll try and kill them. And
Mhm.
that would make sense as well. I could see it going either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a coin toss at this point. I mean, unless
Yeah.
you've read the comics, which
I think it's
we
whoever wakes him up is the side he's going to go on. So
probably.
I know we see him with Homelander at the end, but I think Homelander is going to keep him chilled, and I think somebody else is going to find out. Shit, Homelander's got Soldier Boy on ice, and I think maybe the boys will do a mission to go and wake him up. And like,
That'd
we
be kind of
rescued
cool.
you, you work with us. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I see it going, but I don't know. I kind of think that Kripke would want to make Jensen Ackles a hero by the end. I don't think he'd want to see him die a villain. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's again me just kind of thinking that Kripke's going to take care of his own. But I don't know. I thought again when I heard that Jensen was going to be in this show, I was like absolutely gobsmacked by the stuff that Kripke had him doing in the show.
Mhm.
And like I watched podcasts with Jensen since, and he's like some of the shit like that. Even like they had asked me to do that, like we didn't do, was absolutely like vile and vulgar. Like, and he's like, I was just shocked at the stuff that we were doing in this show. So I'm gonna miss it when it's gone. I love it. I do love it. I am sad it's only one season. I think I read today that they're estimating it's going to come out in 2026, which sucks.
Jeez, why so long?
I don't know. I know the
I
original release schedule was going to be like Gen V season 1, Boys season 4, Gen V season 2, Boys season 5, Gen V maybe season 3 or something, and then maybe Gen V goes on for a couple of seasons by itself once the Boys is done. I don't know, but I think just after the tragic death of the cast member V, I think they're doing the Boys back to back, and then they're going to do Gen V season 2 because I think it needs a lot of rewrites, which is
yeah,
sad.
and I get that, but at this point, I don't know if Gen V can hold up on its own. It was fun.
Yeah, I don't see like where does it go? Because again, two of the main cast members of Gen V seem to be working with Homelander now. They're in the boys, you know. So it's like, what's going to be the point of Gen V season 2 if it takes place after the end of the boys? You know,
Yeah. And
like unless it ends with Ryan like building a new seven or something, and then a few of them go and work with the new seven, but then there's like evil soups or something. Somehow Homelander has returned. You know, maybe do a Star Wars. I don't know.
I, I think you would still need to kind of put it in between. I think if you try to put it afterwards, it's gonna drop off like drastically, because then that's the end of the boys. We really don't have anything else to look forward to. It's not gonna have as good of a connection as it did in between.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I don't think it's gonna work out the way that they think, but who knows? Who knows which direction they're gonna take with this? I mean, um, for all we know, it's going to be a completely different story and it's going to be fun. But
Yeah.
if they try to trail off after the boys, it's going to be so rough.
So you think if they do the boys season 5 first, and then Gen V season 2 it releases after the boys is done, but takes place in the timeline before? You think that's how they kind of keep people interested? Maybe it's like they kind of do
Mm,
a time gap and they kind of fill in the blanks with Gen V season 2.
I'd be hard pressed if that worked.
Yeah.
I think it's much better to go in sequence.
Yeah.
For me, I personally hate prequels.
Yeah.
I think that starting from the beginning of the story and working your way all the way to the end is the best thing you can do. I mean, like, can you imagine if Harry Potter had like, you know, uh
They showed us
Chamber
the
of
end and it's
like
like
yeah,
7
and then
years earlier.
yeah, it like shows us some weird shit that went on in the past, but we already know how it ends. It's like it's not that fun. The only difference was like with Star Wars with episode 1, 2, and 3, because that was a completely different outlook on what the origins of this character was, which was done very well in my opinion.
Yeah.
And but I always say, like, if you ever want to go in order, you can do 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and that's what most people will tell you. But in my opinion, I think it's 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, because you have the revelation, then you
Yeah.
see then you see the origin to the uprising to the downfall, then
Yeah.
you see the resolution.
Redemption. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. I've never watched it in that order, but it does sound interesting. I've always kind of done it 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, but yeah, it is cool to think like after like Luke loses his hand and everything, then you go back to the start and you find out who his father was and see the fall, and then you go to the very end of the story and see him get redeemed at the end and
Yeah, because
the
I mean,
Empire falls.
do they ever in episodes 4 and 5, do they ever call Darth Vader by Anakin? Do they ever
Oh
know
no,
that his name is Anakin? So then
not until 6. Yeah,
right. So then you have that 4 and 5 moment. You get the reveal that Darth Vader is, you know,
his father.
is his father. Then you go 1, 2, and then when you get to 3 and the reveal that Anakin becomes Darth Vader, it's like, oh shit, that's Luke's father. Oh, like it's like, build up to that point.
I think
And then finding out that
I think once you hear that his name is Skywalker, you'd probably put it together. But I think for half of episode 1, if you were to like be following Qui-Gon and then he meets this little kid, this little slave kid named Anakin, and then you find out that his name is Skywalker, you'd be like, oh shit, this is Vader as a kid. That'd be cool. That would have been a fucking great reveal.
totally forgot about the last names.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah,
still
Skywalker's not a very common name in Star Wars.
no, but
Although it is,
Starkiller was the original,
it was,
which I
yeah.
think was really cool.
Yeah, I loved it. And then I loved how they brought that into the games, the Starkiller games. That was sick. Yeah, I heard that they were bringing, again, I don't want to go too deep into this, but they were bringing, when they were making The Mandalorian and when they were making Clone Wars, they wanted to bring that character into the canon, but they thought he was too powerful. They're like, we can't really bring him into the canon because he's just so OP. It's outrageous. Like, but I think Dave Filoni, when he was making The Mandalorian and when they were working on the Kenobi show and stuff, they were like, will we bring Starkiller in as an Inquisitor? Which would have been sick, but he would have been too powerful.
Yeah, because like he essentially had the ability to surpass any of the people that were on the screen.
When he was created, the idea was this is Luke if he went full dark side.
Right.
So scary thought.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but yeah, considering everything that's going, like, heading back into the boys, considering everything that's going on, I think the show's doing a fantastic job of keeping us glued to our seats, keeping our eyes peeled, making sure that we're aware of like our surroundings within the show itself, because like that, the previous episode really threw us in for a loop, forgetting about the whole shifter situation. I thought it was fucking hilarious when Huey realized that like the shifter was right in front of him. The
yeah.
moment she was like,
Look
it's,
for, where he's like to,
Ernest.
where he's like to MM, he's like, look forward, don't look to the left. Like, it's
Yeah.
like it's Annie, it's Annie. Yeah, it was cool. Again, to bring back Supernatural, but like they've been doing the shifter shit on Supernatural for years, and again, it was such an homage to the show. It's fucking brilliant. Like some of the shifter episodes are some of the best episodes of Supernatural. Like it's just, again, it was Kripke just tipping the hat to some of his best work in the past. Like, so I'd love to talk to some diehard Supernatural fans about this show, like just to kind of see if they feel the same as I do. But yeah, it's fantastic. And they made the shifter in this show like more powerful than they would be in Supernatural. So
Mhm.
like just the fact that like they were able to like throw heroes around and stuff like that, like they were like really powerful. It just made it even better. I was like, oh my god, I didn't think they could make it better, but they did. It was just so sick.
Do you think that they could have made a bit more of an interesting moment between Annie and the shifter if somehow they were wearing similar clothing, and Kimiko had gotten up?
Just know who's who.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a classic with the shifter. It's like, that's the real, no, I'm the real one. Yeah, like they do that moment. I kind of like the way it worked, with the way it worked out. And again, to talk to Annie at the very end, like, maybe I'm misremembering this, but could she fly before? Is that the first time she's flown? She could fly
Uh,
before, right?
no. She learned how to fly after like taking immense power from like all the energy that was near her in the tower.
Yeah,
When during the fight between like Soldier Boy and Homelander and whatnot.
yeah.
So
But
like, and then
now she's leveled up though, right? Like, so by the end of the show now, she's kind
we
of, because my understanding of that final scene was her kind of leveling up, kind of releasing the mental block, similar to Kamiko, but she's now able to, because it looks like they were in the middle of nowhere, so it's not as if she like pulled off the power grid, but she kind of just powered up and shot up into things, like shot off like Superman. It was incredible.
right. I mean, it's possible. Whenever you're in a dangerous situation and you're in fight or flight mode.
Adrenaline. Yeah.
Yep. Essentially that. And it's kind of cool like how they did that. I think it's a very interesting take. Shows like that maybe she's a lot stronger than she intends to be. I did find it weird that they powered her down for this season, and I think but at the same time
Hated it.
I kind of liked it, only for the fact that like this whole season was about them just not ever getting it right, not ever getting any sort of like positive. Nothing that they did in this entire season ended up in the way that they wanted it to be. Even after Newman died, like that was Butcher, and they
Yeah.
don't really trust Butcher that much anymore.
No. Yeah. I didn't really like Annie this season, but I thought she had such a fucking phenomenal season finale. I thought she was brilliant.
Oh
Like, I
yeah.
thought that was some of the best acting she's ever done on the show. Getting to play both sides of because obviously it's very hard to do two versions of the same character, and I think she did such a better job than the girl on the Acolyte, where it was like, she just kind of flatly played the same character. But I felt like it was two different versions of Annie, like coming up, like fighting side by side and so on. And just the way she kind of fucked with Huey and everything, I thought was brilliant. And like she got down on one knee and proposed to him and all this stuff. Like, it was so fucked up. Again, feeling so sorry for Huey, because even then Annie as well being angry that Huey slept with the shifter and stuff. Because again, I turned to my missus straight away, and she was just like, "If you did that to me, I swear." And I'd be like, "Hey, look, it's not Huey's fault. Like, he thought it was her. Like, and it's such a fucked up situation, because it's like, obviously you can't give out to Huey. He didn't know. Of course, he didn't know. He thought he was having sex with the real Annie. But then at the same time, Annie's like, you had sex with somebody else. Like, it's such a difficult situation as a couple to deal with. And like me and her were kind of thinking like, oh God, what would you do? Like, she's like, it would take me a while to kind of
Yeah.
get over the whole situation. Not that she would like blame me for it, but it is still a situation, like, you know.
Well,
And
yeah,
you saw Annie deal with that on the
yeah.
show, and I thought it was so well done. It was so well done.
See, and that's like the same thing happened. Like Katie was watching it, and she's like, it wasn't you, and
Yeah,
and like she walked away. And I'm like, just give her a minute, she'll get over it. And immediately, like, you know, a few scenes later, she gets over it. And I was
she
like, yeah, like it makes sense. Like you just need to give them time to kind of process that. Like if it was in the opposite way, who knows what Huey would have done? You know, maybe
yeah.
he would have needed time to process it as well. It's like, how could you not know it was me? Kind of situation.
I love when she's like, "You had sex with the shifter," and he's like, "Yeah." It's like, "How many times?" And he's like, "No more than 20." Obviously, Huey just so chuffed that, like, because again, for the whole season, it seems like they hadn't really been intimate with each other, and then it's like by the end, it's like the shifter obviously was like real horny or whatever. So like, Huey's just in and out 20 times. Like, I thought that was so funny, man. That made me laugh so much. I thought it was brilliant. It's like
Yeah.
20.
Well,
I just wasn't expecting it to be that many times because
oh
you see it
yeah.
happen twice, obviously, but like it's like 20.
I
I
mean,
thought,
if
I
she,
thought that was so
like,
funny, man.
you know, that's his, you know, that's his person
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and he just thought nothing was wrong. So he was like, where's this coming from? And was like, okay, I'm in
I'll
on
take
it.
every opportunity I can get.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I did like that she was like, you're gonna go and get tested for every
yeah,
known and I'm like, yeah, he probably should get
100%,
tested.
100%. I wouldn't even need to be told that. I'd be doing that myself because it's a real scary thought to with a shifter as well, because it's like you don't know who they actually are or how many people they've been and if that affects them genetically or whatever, you know, because obviously when they make the shifts they get all the memories and everything like that, and their genetics, everything changes, the body changes. Like it's like how many shifts has this shifter done? Like it's a fucking
Right.
scary thought. Yeah, it's very scary.
Exactly.
And the shifter even says, I even forget what I originally looked like. So they've shifted so many times that they don't even know who they are anymore. And that's like such a scary concept.
That's fucking crazy.
It is. Yeah, it's fucked. It's fucked. Um, I'm going to shoot off. I'm going to rattle off a couple of bits of news I heard for the week, and then we can kind of bail for that. Bail after that because we've been live over 2 hours. So I'm kind of conscious of the time. But what do you make of? Again, I don't know if this is actually 100%, but I think the Hollywood trades have pretty much confirmed it that the Russos are coming back to direct Avengers 5 and 6.
I think they squashed that.
What do you mean squash? Like it's not real?
I've seen news that Feige squashed that.
I haven't seen it. Did you see this news today? This is news to me. I'm pretty sure this is real shit, bro. I'm pretty sure the Russos are back.
I read elsewhere. They were in talks.
Because I only read yesterday that they were down to executively produce every project up until Secret Wars. Even if they're not involved in it, they're getting EP credits for everything. So apparently they're going to be touching everything. Yeah, Griff says it's happening. I'm pretty sure it is, and I think it's going to be announced next Saturday officially at Comic-Con that they will be directing Avengers 5 and 6.
Yeah, it's still more of a rumor. It's not confirmed yet, but it seems like it could be a confirmation. It's mainly that Feige's been rejecting other filmmakers.
Yes, so I think the official story, again, I was watching Dead and Nerds, he's very clued into all this, but he was saying that they approached the Russos maybe 2 years ago, because I remember there was a time after Endgame that the Russos were taking monthly meetings with Marvel and still very heavily involved in where the whole story was going, but Feige wanted to potentially get somebody else to take over because I think they didn't want to like have the crutch of the Russo brothers only making the good movies. They wanted to see if they could go out and do it without them. But now I think they've kind of gone back and said, "Look, guys, we do need you back. We need the kind of safety net. We need these movies to be good." So they're back and they're going to be executively producing everything now leading up to Secret Wars, which is fucking crazy if you think about it, because Infinity War, like Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, like if you think about the amount of characters that they touched, it's actually wild. And shout out to Josh because he made like this comparison, and I never really thought about it before, but some of the best versions of characters that we've seen have been in their movies, like, which is crazy to think about. Like, think about where Cap ends up, like Civil War into Infinity War. Like Infinity War, Steve Rogers is probably my favorite version, or like, I think he peaks there in the Infinity War. I think Thor peaks in Infinity War. I think Tom Holland in Civil War is incredible. I love how they did Spider-Man. I thought they did the character so fucking amazingly, and I was so worried about it. Spider-Man is like my all-time favorite character, and I was so scared because when I saw the first trailer and the suit was shit looking, I was like, oh my god, they're gonna ruin Spider-Man. But when like almost instantly when you first meet Peter Parker, you're like, oh my god, this is Peter Parker. I was like, holy shit, Tom Holland is incredible. And a lot of that is due to the Russos. Like, I think they wrote it perfectly or directed it perfectly, and it was written perfectly for them. I just think they hit it out of the park. Now, I don't like every decision that they made. I don't like what they did with Hulk. I think Smart Hulk was kind of a power down. I think, Savage Hulk is always the best Hulk. You want Berserker Hulk there. You want the conflict between Banner and the Hulk. I don't like Smart Hulk really 100%.
It's not, well, and that's the fucked up thing, is that you really should like Smart Hulk, because Smart Hulk is like the best of both worlds.
Of course.
It's not as powerful, but but it's like you said, they powered him down. The problem with that is that they didn't utilize him to the fullest. They took that character, made him a pacifist essentially, because they knew that they had a powerful character in their hands, and that they didn't want to make him OP to the point where he could basically take down anyone.
Yeah.
But they still could have made him very much a supportive character, to the point of like him, dude, in the comics, like fucking the Professor is such a cool fucking persona that you run into.
Yeah.
Such a strong character. And you just, there's like panels that you see of him like fucking carrying arsenals. He's got miniguns, he's got fucking missile launchers, because why not? Because he's smart enough to use them.
Yeah.
And he's also able to fight hand-to-hand combat, and he's aware of his shit. Like he's on point, but he's not ever going to be stronger than the Savage Hulk.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't want to go too far into it. I just know that like they powered him. They should have powered him up.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't. That's one thing that I didn't like. I didn't like the direction, and I didn't like what they did with Thor in Endgame as well. Fat Thor was just fucking stupid.
See, but they could,
and it was more comedic where it shouldn't have been. Like, think about, and this upsets me all the time, but Infinity War Thor is like peak MCU in my opinion. I think like Thor in Infinity War is just absolutely incredible, and coming off in Ragnarok as well. Like, I was just so over the moon for Chris Hemsworth as an actor, getting to do all that, because it was just so fucking good. And then Endgame comes around and he's a drunken fat mess, and I was like, no, like, why? I know he's upset about the whole Thanos thing, but come on, let him redeem himself. It felt like it was just, they were trying to push a comedic fucking thing. And I know Hemsworth himself said he didn't want to take his shirt off. He wasn't really mad about getting into shape. So they're like, yeah, we'll just write you as fat and lazy or whatever and put you in a big fake suit. And fine, whatever. I know it's Hemsworth, whatever. And I know later on he went on to get jacked again, but I don't know, man. That kind of hurt me a little bit.
It's the dumbest thing possible to ever consider. Like, you're either shirtless or you're fat. And it's like, what are you talking about, dude? Like,
keep the fucking suit on.
Yeah, just let him wear the fucking suit. The suit's sick. Like, I love the suit. And and you're like, it's so fucking dumb. Like, you don't need Chris Hemsworth to take off his shirt all the time. You don't need Scarlett Johansson to like zip down her front like too far down. You like, Elizabeth Olsen clearly was like, I'm not doing this shit.
Yeah,
you're gonna give me a proper
her
suit
up real quick.
Yeah, and
it works.
I respect that. They're still beautiful characters.
Oh, she got better looking as it went on, and they stopped sexualizing her. And I think same with Widow as well. Like, I think she got better looking and more desirable as the saga went on. And again, they stopped sexualizing her. Like, but it worked, So I think
because you see how bad she is.
But think about Thor at the start of Endgame. Before they do the 5-year jump, and he's just like in the normal street, the human clothes, and he's just looking all pissed off and sad, and he's like, let's go get him, we need to get revenge. That's cool. I love that Thor. Just leave him like that. I don't know. But anyway,
but I really think though that they should, like, for the actors that don't want to do it, that's fine. I don't think they should be afraid to show stuff like that though. Like, not saying the actors, I'm just saying, like, just in general, like, it's okay. Like, people think you're cool. People think you look cool. And if you look as close to the actual like comic reference as possible, that makes it like 10, 100 times better. But it doesn't need to be over sexualized. I'm saying, give us the costumes, give us the
Yeah.
way the costumes look, give us the modern costumes. Even like the modern costumes are fucking epic, dude. Like they gave us the modern Moon Knight costume. That thing looked fucking sick.
That was the best. The suit was the best part of the show.
Yeah, it was so cool.
It was
I
epic.
I don't need to see cleavage. I don't need to see like shirtless people. I don't need to see any of that stuff. I just want to see the character look like the character in the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Griff in the chat here, really hope they do the Nomad series. This has been up in the air for a long time, and I think it's been kind of known that Evans has signed on for more projects, but it's never officially come out with exactly what he's going to do. I think Nomad is a real possibility that he does like a 6-part miniseries, 1 episode for each of the Stones. He brings them back in time, and then maybe the show ends with him going back to Peggy, and that's the end of it, or whatever. Maybe they do, like, because isn't the story in the comics he like comes back out of time, but he's not Captain America anymore, and that would kind of make sense to maybe bring him back into the MCU that way. And it's like, I'm not Captain America anymore. I'm Nomad. I've been on my mission for years and years and years, and then he kind of just pops back into the MCU. I think that'd be cool too. And then that doesn't take it away from Sam, because the last thing you want to do, especially with how long it's been since Sam had his show, became Cap, and like now we're only seeing him as Captain America for the first time. If you air that movie early next year and then like 2 months later announce that Chris Evans is coming back as Captain America, it's kind of like, why did we do the Sam Wilson movie if you're getting Cap back? You know what I mean? So I think they need to do Nomad, because you can bring Evans back, everyone will be so chuffed that he's back, but he's technically not Captain America. That's still Sam Wilson, I think that's how they probably should do it. Just because otherwise, what's the point in watching Sam Wilson if we're going to get Steve Rogers back,
I just really think they shot themselves in the foot by getting rid of Red Skull. Like
maybe the Nomad show brings Red Skull back somehow. Maybe he jumps with with the way Steve uses the Pym tech. Maybe fucking Red Skull jumps in with him or something at the very end or something. That's how he kind of comes back.
I mean, that could very much lead into a mind controlled Captain America, or like a mind swap.
Hydra Cap or something. That'd be fucking sick, dude.
Well, like it really depends on what you want to say about Hydra Cap. I think it's better to do a mind swapped Captain America where Red Skull has taken over Captain America's body.
Yeah.
And essentially is pretending to be him. And then just tries to destroy things from the inside, but then they save him by finding like, Red Skull's body with Cap like stuck in there, and they manage to do the transfer and whatnot, which I think would be a cool concept. Hydra Cap, I think is going to end up being a what if thing, which
that or could be a Battle World thing. That could be cool.
It could
again,
be.
like one of the things I want to talk about is the final trailer for Deadpool 3. And I think, again, we're going into the void. We've now have full confirmation that there's going to be like fucking 20 or 30 different Deadpools in this movie. I think anything is possible. And I think with the real life relationships between like Ryan Reynolds and Chris Evans did a cameo in Free Guy, Ryan did cameos in his stuff. Like, they're kind of cameoing each other's shit. And I think real world wise, I think it doesn't make any sense that Evans doesn't come onto the set of Deadpool and Wolverine and do something. You know what I mean? Like, I would be very much shocked if Evans in some capacity, whether it's him being himself or him being a version of Captain America or something, comes into this movie. I'd be shocked if he didn't. So maybe in the void in this movie, before like all the worlds come to an end, I think maybe we see Hydra Cap in Deadpool 3 or something. It's a great time to do it, because it's maybe we see a glimpse into that universe. It's an evil version of Cap, and then it just gets destroyed. It's like a real quick cameo. It just doesn't need to make sense, doesn't need a backstory. It's like, it's just a cool kind of fan servicey moment. And then Evans gets his cameo and Ryan's maybe like, because I think like the two of them are just such good friends in real life. Again, with like Gyllenhaal and all these guys, like they're all like good friends in real life. And I think they just use any means to be in each other's movies. Like, and I think that'd be a perfect one.
Yeah. Man, I don't know, man. I would much rather have Evans like be one of the Deadpools.
That'd be
Just
cool.
yeah, I like it's kind of like with if you notice Ryan Reynolds and my God, what's his name?
Hugh Jackman.
No. He also does cameos with him. Brad Pitt.
Oh yeah,
Um
yeah,
like I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Brad Pitt again.
yeah, hundred
Because we
percent.
saw
Give him
you
16
watched
frames instead of 8 and in
yeah,
Deadpool 2.
yeah.
Yeah,
Did you watch Bullet Train?
yeah,
Yeah. Like I really love that. I think like they could just keep doing a back and forth kind of situation
that's
and
yeah,
throw Evans in the mix, have them all be like different types of Deadpools or maybe even different like what if Evans was a Wolverine? I
yeah.
mean that would be kind of cool. Like I would
I think Cavill's going to be a Wolverine. I think
Cavill?
Daniel Cavill is going to be a Wolverine. I think Daniel Radcliffe is potentially going to be a Wolverine. I think they confirmed that he isn't going to be patched. That was kind of the main kind of theory. But I think we're
Mhm.
gonna get in this movie's gonna be fucking insane, bro. I think like by the time we sit down next to talk, we'll have seen it, which I think is fucking amazing. I can't
Mhm.
wait. Like it's like fucking 6 days or 5 days till it comes out. I'm absolutely fucking buzzing. I can't wait. But yeah, I think we're gonna get like multiple versions of Wolverine, multiple versions of Deadpool. You know, again, we know a good few of them that are already out, but I think there's going to be so much in this movie that still hasn't been revealed. Did you watch the final trailer? No.
No, because it already got spoiled that X-23 was going to be in there, and I was like, "Really? Did you
Yeah.
guys really have to show that? Did you
I was a
really
little
have to
annoyed.
like?"
I was a
It,
little
it
annoyed by
was.
that too.
It's
Yeah.
it's the most annoying thing possible to like reveal like that X-23 was going to come back.
It's not as bad.
We
It's not as bad as Hulk showing up in the Ragnarok trailer. That was one of the biggest upsets of my
oh that
life.
was that was dumb. That
Could
was
you
so dumb.
imagine sitting opening night, you're there with your popcorn, the screen's all dark, and you watch that scene for the first time and you're like Thor's gonna about to fight the champion, you don't have a fucking clue who it is, and then you just hear the Hulk footsteps, boom, 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 and then he bursts through
Yeah.
the fucking wall. I'd be like, oh my God, I would have screamed, bro. It would have been incredible because again, I wasn't like crazy into like the leaks and stuff. So I don't even know back then if like the leak culture was that big that everybody knew in the leak community that Hulk was going to be in it before it even got released. Maybe Griff, you might know. I don't know because Griff is a mod for Den and Nerd, so maybe he knows. But I wasn't watching Josh back then, so I don't know. But yeah, that was a complete surprise for me, and that pissed me off so much that that was in the trailer. And I was only saying this the other day in his chat. I was kind of saying I didn't like how X-23 was in the movie or was in the trailer, and his response was that like he's like, well, we already knew, but I was like, and I know we
Yeah,
knew,
but
but there's a difference. And I was trying to explain this as well. It's like there's a difference about talking about something a year out when it's speculation and we're all having fun and going, oh well, we heard that she might be in it and blah blah blah. But when you actually see the fucking footage a week before the movie comes out, you're kind of like, oh, I wish I kind of waited because I probably would have, not that I would have forgotten about X-23 showing up, but it would have been nice to just see it for the first time on the big screen. You know,
yeah,
it was the same with
and
John Krasinski in Multiverse of Madness. We all knew he was going to be in it. And I'll never forget when I sat there and he showed up. I turned to my missus, and my missus, I don't tell her about any of the spoilers because she doesn't want to know. But like she turned to me like, what the fuck? Because we love The Office. Like, and she turned to me like, oh my God, it's John Krasinski. And I was like, just kind of nodding, going, yep. I knew this was coming, but yeah. It was just, again, it was so nice to see it, because they didn't show it in any of the trailers.
right, and they did the same thing for No Way Home. Like they gave us the rumors, we heard everything that was going on,
Yeah.
and they did their best to try to keep it as shut down as possible. The only thing that was ever seen was like a leak from a trailer in like a different country.
Yeah, yeah,
And
where they deleted the Spider-Man from, but you still saw the lizard getting kicked. It was a
yeah,
it,
and
it
it's
was the worst cover up ever because we all knew because again that 4K image of Andrew on the fucking scaffolding came out. And everyone was like,
yeah.
"Oh no, that's not real. It's CGI." It's like knew that picture so well. I'd seen it so many times that when that shot came up in the movie, I was like, "There's the leak. It's right there.
Yeah.
You know where it is."
Yep.
Yeah, that was so funny,
It,
man.
but it worked out. Like we still got, we never saw how they showed up, and that was
I
awesome.
I unfortunately did, and I was pissed
Wow.
off. Yeah, I was pissed off because the morning of, I opened up TikTok, and the first thing that I saw was a clip of that scene where the lizard is chasing Andrew
Mhm.
through the Statue of Liberty, And I was like, oh my fucking God. Because I was like, there's no way that that's fake. I was like, that looked too good, too real to be fake. And I was like, I can't believe that. And I knew straight away it was Andrew Suit. And I was like, for fuck's sake, he's in it. And that was like, again, I was in work that day. I remember the day perfectly. I was in work and I opened up TikTok and it was it just popped up right in my face the second I clicked on the app. And I was going to see the movie in like 6 hours. And I was like, fuck. I was like, I couldn't believe it. So someone obviously got an advanced screening of it and recorded it on their phone in the cinema and put it up on TikTok. I was raging, bro. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
So annoying. So annoying. Yeah, so Russo's are back. We went.
I mean, it's not confirmed yet. I will wait till they come onto the hall. It's literally Feige. Literally,
yeah.
He said, "No, I can't comment on it except to say it's somebody else." A couple of weeks ago, and I look forward to seeing who's going to be next week. We'll see. He said, "We'll see," and it's not a guarantee. And if it is the Russos, great. I love it. You know, they've had a great run. I'm not holding my breath every time we do this, Finto.
I know, but it's just wait. when it gets released on like the Hollywood Reporter and stuff. That's when like they're the official trades, and when they're talking about it, it is official. So that's how it works. Like it's when they call the Hollywood trades, like all the like Variety and the Hollywood Reporter. When they start talking about it, they will not put up rumors. They put up facts. So they know it's true, but it's not officially announced yet by Marvel, but they know that it's true. So when you see the Hollywood Reporter and Variety and all these people talking about it, take it as gospel because it is true. So yeah,
sure.
Unfortunately, it's true. I don't know why, because they would have had to make a decision because again, the likes of Hollywood Reporter and stuff wouldn't post anything officially without talking to Disney because they'd be afraid of getting sued or whatever. So Disney would have actually turned around and said, yeah, look, whatever, the news is out, just whatever, post it. And again, I think Marvel and Disney, I think they do this on purpose because they want to like release it early, get the feel of how the community's feeling about it. Everybody's like over the moon with it. So they're like, yeah, this is the right move. But they shouldn't have done this. Like I think releasing it to the trades was fucking stupid. Could you imagine the hype next Saturday? We've just seen Deadpool 3. Everybody's like blowing up thinking MCU's back, baby. You know, Wade's did it. He saved the MCU. Like, you know, whatever's going to happen at the end of Deadpool 3 is going to set up like Secret Wars and stuff, I hear. So it's like everyone's going to be like jonesing for Avengers 5 next. And then the very next day, Feige steps up on stage at SDCC and announces that the Russos are going to direct it. It would have been just the fucking biggest like mind blower ever. But now they've fucking ruined it, like, because the fucking cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. People still believe in Santa. Like shit.
True.
Like you're still gonna go. You're still gonna go under the Christmas tree. You're gonna see all the gifts. You're gonna be like, oh my god, look at all those gifts from Santa. Like you're still gonna be happy as a clam, dude.
Oh no, I will 100%. But again, it's Hulk in the fucking trailer. It's like I wish I didn't know because just having that actual excitement and that actual shock factor of hearing the news for the first time, like because again, you know, there was rumors that they were gonna like again probably 2 years ago before they released the news of Secret Wars. It was always like, is this the Russos? Are they going to come back? And there was the rumor that maybe they might, but then it was like no, they got squashed and they officially announced it. But now hearing that it's like actually they are coming back, you'd be like, oh my god, you know, like it would have been amazing. But yeah, I would have loved that surprise. But anyway, with the fact that they recast Thunderbolt Ross, I see a lot of people online kind of saying like, oh, they should recast T'Challa because you're recasting other people, which is a valid point. I think they should have recast T'Challa, and I can't remember where I read it, but I hear that they're recasting T'Challa after Secret Wars, which kind of lines up to what Feige originally said, that they weren't going to touch the character for like 8 years, which I think after Secret Wars, it is going to be like 2027, 2028. So I think it actually does line up with the 8 years. So I think we're going to
I mean, that kid's going to grow up in 8 years. So like, that makes sense.
Yeah, but is that a recast technically?
That will 100% not be a recast, but
but it is T'Challa returning to the Black Panther,
right?
In a way.
I find it really weird that they don't want to recast these certain characters. Like they recasted Rhodey. Like did they not give a shit about Rhodey? even though
No.
it was obviously a better choice. Like after Terrence Howard left, and it was now like Don Cheadle. I think Don Cheadle did a really good job compared to what Terrence Howard did.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Terrence Howard, and I would have liked to see him stay on. I don't mind Don Cheadle. But multiverse, I'd love to see what the MCU would have gone on like with Terrence instead. It would have been interesting, because I think he is a good actor, and
He's too far gone now, dude. He's not
yeah,
acting anymore.
I
He
know.
cares about 1 × 1 = 2 now.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
It he's out.
Yeah, he's a very clever man, and I never knew that about him, that he was like creating patents and shit, and he originally held the patent for like VR and shit, which is insane. Like wild. Like again, I never knew any of that. I just thought he was an actor. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's like I
I
saw somebody made a meme, and it was like Terrence Howard got sacked from the NCU and actually turned into the real life Tony Stark. It's like, hang on a second, he's like creating VR and all this crazy shit. I thought that was very, very funny. Did you hear about, speaking of RDJ, actually, did you hear the rumor of potentially him playing a variant of Doctor Doom?
No, but that would actually be pretty cool. I would really enjoy that.
Yeah, so the rumor is, again, I don't know any truth to this, but the rumor is, because again, kind of like Evans, it's kind of been well known that RDJ is going to make a return in some capacity. And if you follow Robert Downey Jr., he's starting to look like Tony Stark again. Like he's kind of dyeing the hair, and he's kind of getting the goatee back and all. And I'm like, he kind of is Tony Stark in real life, but for a couple of years, it's like he really stepped away from that kind of persona of being himself. As weird as that sounds, but I think it was all around the Oppenheimer role and stuff like that. And he went gray, and he didn't really look like Tony Stark anymore, but he's kind of looking like Tony Stark again.
Mhm.
So I feel like, yeah, he is coming back to definitely coming. Like I know he's coming back, but it's like I think he's gearing up to come back, and this would be a very interesting way for him to come back. A lot of people don't think he should come back as Iron Man. I'm kind of with them. I think that, the end game end of Tony's arc, I thought was beautiful, and it'd be kind of damaging if you just kind of did something with time, or did something with just a variant of him popping in, and it's like, hey, I'm the new Tony or whatever. It's kind of takes away a bit from the magic of the end of the Infinity Saga. But I'd love to have Tony back. I think he's needed, and I always kind of laugh because I don't know if you ever watched the Joe Rogan podcast with him after he left, and Rogan just outright says, "Are you going to go back to the role?" And Downey says, "If I go back, if I put the jersey back on, does it kind of take away from the magic of the end if I just come back in a couple of years?" And Joe Rogan literally says to him, "It's like, yeah, but like if they go and make a couple of shit movies without you, and then you come back, how epic would it be?" And that's actually really funny, because that's exactly what's happening. Like Phase 4 and 5 have not been great. Like it hasn't been the peak MCU like it was when Downey and Evans and stuff were in it. And now, Avengers 5 is probably going to have them come back, and it's going to be a triumphant return to glory with the Russos now as well. It's like that just makes perfect sense for the original cast coming back if the Russos are going to be in it as well. So I think I saw Den of Nerds put out a tweet. It was just like, I say that Avengers group is hopping this morning with the news of the Russos coming back. So, oh man, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. As Griff says in the chat, Marvel is back. It's back, baby.
Now holding my breath.
I know. I love your skepticism. I love it. You keep me grounded. Because otherwise I'd be fucking at Jupiter right now, man. I'd be so far gone. So yeah, look,
you'd be like, oh
yeah, literally. I'd be
just like
shooting into the fucking galaxy, bro. So yeah. What do you think of Sean Levy? Obviously, he's said that he's made an amazing movie with Deadpool and Wolverine. I think it'd be shocking if the movie was a fail. Like honestly, it would be one of the biggest upsets ever if this movie doesn't land, which I think is impossible. But I hear he's done a great job. Rumor has it that maybe he'll get the first X-Men movie in the MCU.
Mhm.
I really like the idea, because if you think about it, he's obviously dealing with Wolverine, he's dealing with Deadpool, he's closing out the Fox universe. Like no better man, in my opinion, to take over and potentially do the first mutant movie in the MCU. I think it'd be sick.
I mean, it sounds plausible. just not. We're gonna have to see what happens with this movie, which coming out in literally 4 days.
Yeah.
It's if this is a spectacular, like it's gonna be a hit regardless, but
Mhm.
it's whether or not it's a spectacular hit. Um, if this blows everything out of the water, it shows that Sean Levy's like fully capable of taking the helm for a lot of different things. And hopefully if he works in within the X-Men kind of, environment, he does it a good service, he does it justice, but at the same time, it makes me worried at the fact that like they're gonna make it very silly. I think like I really believe that we really need X-Men to stay as like, sound in mind, as like what's the word, stoic or serious, that's the
Yeah.
word, as
Yeah.
serious
Yeah.
as possible,
Yeah.
because we're way too far into Marvel to the point where I feel like everything that we've ever gotten so far um has just been a joke. And
Yeah.
it's gotten upsetting to me, but like other people who are just like into that kind of shit are just, you know,
They had a beautiful balance at the start, and I think you're fully right in what you're saying. Like, look at Taika Waititi, what he did with Love and Thunder. Like, he went way too far. Endgame, I hated what they did with Thor. I hated what they did with Hulk and stuff. So it's kind of again leaning a little too far on comedy. But I've always thought that the MCU has had that perfect balance of serious and funny. Like, look at Infinity War. The movie is just intense. It's fucking, all stakes are on the line. You're fully glued into your seat. But at the same time, there's still those comedic moments that just land perfectly. Like, the banter between Thor and Star Killer or Star Lord and the fucking raccoon Rocket and like Thor and everything. All those dynamics, while they're funny in a serious setting, they work. Whereas I think you're right. Like I think especially I think Ragnarok was too funny, but it was done perfectly. Like it was that perfect. Like it was on more on the comedy side, but it worked. And then Love and Thunder was just all comedy and it failed. It was just stupid. So,
yep,
and I think even Hemsworth himself will say when we come back for Thor 5, we're going to right the mistakes that we made in Thor 4. They know they
yep.
fucked up. So, yeah, I think it'll be like, Thor versus Hercules, and I think it'll be a pretty serious movie. I think it's going to be fucking sick.
We'll see. We'll see how that turns out. I really think that they should kind of take notes. I think Iron Man 1 should be a class.
Yeah.
They should really take notes from that because it was great. It was
It's
fun.
it's the
It
blueprint. 100%.
and
Always has
Yeah,
been.
and it had its moments where it's like, dude, you need to take this shit seriously. Otherwise, like people are gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where even at the like when Obadiah manages to stun Tony in his own home, steal the reactor, and Tony's dying
Yeah.
because there's nothing holding the shrapnel.
Mhm.
So now it's like he's on the verge of death, and he manages to get a new reactor in, and like it's a very like one of those are pain moments where it's like, holy shit, is my hero about to die?
Yeah. And
Be-
again, if you think about it, it's the MCU didn't exist back then. I know they had planned it, but like we didn't know. We didn't know there was going to be this big expansive universe. So Tony could have died in that scene. We wouldn't have
yeah,
known. Like we didn't know there was going to be an Iron Man 2 and Avengers and all this sort of shit. I suppose you kind of find out in the after credit scene, but at the time when you're watching that movie for the first time, you don't know what the fuck could happen. Like he could die.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
sick.
There's a lot of good moments. I would even say like for people that shit on the Incredible Hulk, they should really take a look back and see like what
I
made it
want to
different.
rewatch it, bro. I want to rewatch
Um,
it.
it's not as bad as people think. I don't know what parts of it they think is horrible, but to be completely honest, it really sets itself up in a good way. I think Edward Norton is a fantastic
I
creative
love Edward
mind.
Norton. Love him.
Um, but he does have moments where he's up his ass,
Yeah.
and I can't deny that. Like if he had not had such conflict with them, he might have still been Hulk at this point. And who knows what could have been with that Hulk. I think he
Yeah.
would have looked fucking sick. I think he would have looked much more menacing and monstrous at that point, and I think they missed the mark. But Mark Ruffalo picked it up. I think he did a pretty good job picking it up. I don't think he did a terrible job at all. I just don't think that they're utilizing him as much as they should. And the same thing goes for some of the other characters like Cap and Iron Man were like, although they're the leaders, like, the other characters like have a lot of backstory on them, and they did manage to flesh that out a bit here and there. Um, but like you really see how they're like in the front facing, and again, I know I understand that they're leaders and whatnot, but like they're a team. It's really all about like keeping the team together and whatnot, and we absolutely see that in and I would say like Endgame and in Infinity War. Like we see the discrepancy in Infinity War, and then we see like the grouping together in Endgame, whereas like when everyone is working together, it seems to like balance out pretty well. And I think that's what really shows in terms of like all the Avengers, even in the Avengers shows, like Earth's Mightiest Heroes. It's a fantastic show.
Mhm.
It's very fun, and it starts off with like Cap getting mind swapped essentially
Yeah.
with Red Skull, which is why I brought it up, because I'm like, that's a fucking cool concept. Not knowing who your friend is at that point and wondering like how much more damage can be done because our friend is not in the right body. It's just I think that they should really delve into stuff like that. They should redo everything that they did wrong. It doesn't have to be a reboot. I'm just saying, like, recast people. um Fuck that MODOK, redo Hulk. you
Yeah.
know kind of like, don't start over, but create a virtual, like what's the term, a soft reboot, in the sense
Uh,
that it would.
That's what's coming, bro. The soft reboot is coming. I know we've talked about it before, but I genuinely believe that at the end of Secret Wars, we will have Earth Prime or whatever the fuck they call it, but it'll be a mashup of all the best bits that they want, and anything that they don't like the look of or whatever, they'll just write it in that it's been changed, or different versions. And Jesus, you could go back. That's how maybe that's how they go back to Savage Hulk, because in this new world, all that shit hasn't happened to Banner yet, or something. And it's a different Banner, like, or it'll still be Ruffalo, but maybe it's a different Banner or something.
Well, Well, see, that's what I don't want. I want it to continue with the same banner. The whole point is to essentially continue on, get rid of that smart Hulk kind of persona, where they're merged. It's a merged Hulk essentially.
Yeah.
Um, they need to have their minds pulled apart. I want it to be that Banner and Hulk are literally pulled apart from each other, and
Yeah.
they're now two different entities, whether it be physically or mentally, where Banner is locked away in Hulk's mind at
I,
that
I, li-
point.
I like the idea that something happens where Banner realizes, as Smart Hulk or whatever, he realizes, I'm not strong enough. I need to become the Berserker again. And there's a fucking handshake inside him that it's like, okay, we're going back. I'm letting you take the wheel fully. I'm going, whatever. And then he becomes the original Hulk again. And whether
See,
it's that's how he takes out Red Hulk or whatever the fuck, I don't know what the story is going to be, but I think that's how they do it. He needs to become the strongest version of himself, so he actually reverts back. I think that's the only way they do it, and keep
it's
the
just
same character.
right. It's still hard on my head because like that still sounds like they're just gonna, continue the merging process and just try to make themselves stronger. Which that there's like, it's a mental blocking situation.
Mhm.
They have to separate indefinitely and then realize that they like, I'm tired of being this way. I want to take over. Let me do it. And then it like creates the conflict again. I really think they wrote themselves in a corner, but I think they can fix it. But
Yeah,
they just have to really dig deep and pull them apart. Um, but I like, in all honesty, I want a new Black Widow. I don't care if it's Yelena or not. I don't care. I just want a new Widow. Um, I want Hawkeye to either be retired and Kate Bishop takes over, or have Hawkeye to come back in some
I
form or
think
whatever.
I think Renner's coming back. Have you
Who?
seen him? Have you seen him this week?
Is he
Did like,
jacked?
oh my god, bro, he's a miracle. Honestly, how he's alive is a miracle. And if you look at him, I think he was on Men's Health or something, but he looks in the best shape of his entire life. It's crazy, bro. Like he should be dead. And he is literally, he's taken the event that happened to him and turned it into every day is a gift. And he has gone and made himself the best that he's ever been.
Oh yeah.
I think 100% he will be back as Hawkeye, and I think maybe the original plan might have been to hand over the reins, but I think he'll probably fucking take over. He'll come back full time. It would not surprise me.
Well, I'm all for it. I want there to be young Avengers. Then that's something that I've really wanted. I want the West Coast Avengers. I want, I want the fucking the Minnesota or whatever Avengers. I want some crazy ass shit to go on. I want there to be multiple chapters.
Do you think Young Avengers, which I think is in the pipeline, I think they'll probably announce it next week officially, but they've been kind of building it up in phase 4 and 5. Kamala Khan recruits fucking Kate Bishop at the end of the Marvels and says, "Did you know that Scott Lang has a daughter?" It's like they're setting it up, of course, we've known it, but do you think that movie is a success? Like, do you think that movie is a box office success?
Only if they fail. Only if they fail throughout, like halfway through the thing.
They have to fail them, and then they have to go back to the Avengers for help. Like that sort of thing.
Not that they go back, that they get saved.
Yeah.
And then they're told it's exactly what we saw in Homecoming, if you remember.
Tony comes.
Like, well, Tony shows up and he's like, "You don't deserve this. Like, give me back the suit. Like, you're done. We're this is over. Like, you didn't listen to our training. You didn't follow our orders. Like, we don't know what to do with you. You're suspended from this operation right now."
Yeah.
And then they try to figure shit out together and do things as a team and realize that they work well together. They just needed to listen to each other and communicate and become a team. And so then they grow from that point. And then you see like, okay, I can trust in these guys. I can totally see a Young Avengers too.
I think, and this is my prediction, but I think with the failures of Ant-Man and the Marvels, and Bob Iger himself coming out and saying, with Marvel and with the MCU, we're kind of going back to basics. We're going to focus on the core people a bit more. And I think what they're probably going to do is, again, Avengers 5, Avengers 6, Deadpool, Wolverine, all these like big movies, I think are going to be on the big screen. And I think they probably originally had a plan for a Young Avengers movie, but I would not be surprised if next week they announced that it's going to be a series rather than a movie. And it'll be a Disney Plus thing. I think it works better as a Disney Plus thing, honestly, because I just don't think people will go to the cinema to see a Young Avengers movie. I don't think the cast, character-wise, I don't think the cast is strong enough to lead a big box office success like Deadpool and Wolverine, like Avengers 5, like Avengers 6. I don't think it has the star power, like character-wise, to do that. I love some of the cast. I understand that, but Marvel need to have box office smashes again. Like, from a business point of view, it needs to work. And I don't think this movie works on the big screen. It's not a big fucking 200 million on the opening weekend domestically, and it becomes this big fucking thing. I don't think, maybe if it came out in 2017, it would just have that automatic success like Captain Marvel 1 did. But I think where we are now, it doesn't work. I think they need to go back and just get back to basics and just get the normie fan base fucking back on track. But if they do it on a TV show and it's good, I will have nothing but praise for it. I think it will work. I love Kate Bishop as a character. I don't like Kamala Khan, but I think she might work well on a team. The Patriot Kid could be fucking epic. I don't know who else is on that team.
Patriot Kid?
Lang's, the captain, Isaiah Bradley's nephew. I think he's going to be on the team. He's like a young kind of Captain America variant or whatever. He's like the Patriot or something he's called. It's Isaiah Bradley's nephew. We saw him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but apparently he becomes a Cap.
Oh, Eli Bradley, Patriot. Yeah. It's literally Patriot. Okay, I was like, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I thought I dreamt something there for a second. I was like, hey, what am I saying wrong here? But yeah, I think we're gonna get like again, like, you know, and then maybe I don't think Yelena is going to be a part of this because now she's going to be in Thunderbolts or whatever. But
She shouldn't be a part of it. She's not a
no,
fucking young Avenger. She's
no,
like not to sound mean, but she's old.
yeah, but
She's an
I think
Avenger.
I think what
She's
they Young Avengers, like, they kind of have to have a sidekick for each of the main, right?
they
Kind of,
no, they need a Nick Fury, and that's all they need.
yeah.
They need a Nick Fury, maybe a couple cameos here and there of training here, but that's really all you need. It's literally Shield training the new Avengers to
Mhm.
come around and become the next heroes of of Earth.
But
Um,
the comic tropes, what I mean is they usually do, like, it's usually like the Titans is like a sidekick team. Young Avengers is kind of a sidekick team. Like, it's, if you think about it, it's like all the main Avengers sidekicks getting together and starting up their own younger team, like the way DC do with Titans and stuff.
right, but
So
that's the point.
yeah, no,
So
that's what I mean. That's why I'm saying, like, it would make sense if Yelena was technically on the team because she's kind of the sidekick of Black Widow. So she's
she
the
was never
widow.
a sidekick. What are you talking about?
You know what I mean? She's like,
Oh, I don't know what
she's
you mean, sir. You're making me mad now.
watch her movie again. The two of them are kind of like a side. They're kind of like
They're
partners,
sisters. What do you expect?
but they're not really sisters though. That's the thing. They're not
But then
actual.
that's yeah. So then they're not actually partners or anything, or they're not sidekicks.
But that's what they become
They're
by the end of it.
widows.
They're
They work
nearly,
together.
yeah, yeah.
It's
Anyway,
not a
look,
sidekick
I
situation.
hate. I have to end it here, man. I'm sorry. It's
Yeah, you
fucking.
would.
No, I'm not. I'm not bailing for that reason. It's fucking nearly 1:30 in the morning for me.
I know. I'm sorry, man.
I've got to get up
We were
early.
going hard. We were going ham.
No, 3 hours, bro. Like, this is one of the longest casts that we've ever done. So
I
massive thank you
told
to
you.
anybody. Massive thank you to anyone who was here watching or listening to us live. And if you're checking out a replay, let us know in the comments below. Leave a comment and a like and all that beautiful YouTube stuff. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Take it easy.
Take care.
Bye bye.